What the heck's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. The Jets and defensive tackle Quinnen Williams agreed to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, locking him up through 2027. The deal makes Williams the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL, behind Aaron Donald. Quinnen received $2 million more than Jeffrey Simmons did. Quinnen Williams is now the first Jets player selected in the first round to sign a second contract with the organization since Muhammad Wilkerson, whom they picked in 2011. Former NFL standout quarterback of the Phillip Rivers announced he and his wife Tiffany are having a 10th child. So if Phillip Rivers is playing quarterback, he can now field an entire offense all by himself, right in the backyard with his family. That's pretty cool. And from the Split Happens event last night, Joe Hunk redeemed himself. He was not the worst bowler in attendance. No, that classification falls on one Buck Rising. He bowled one frame, knocked down 6 pins, and called it quits. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, and we're headlined by things that aren't really happening in the world of sports, but sports that were done poorly, apparently, in Nashville, Tennessee, that you need to care about in your life this morning, wherever you are listening. Around the world, Craig, here on 104.5 The Zone, or watching on the F&M Bank chat, Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. That's where you can see the lovely faces of one Ramon Foster, of Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass. My name is Will Bowling. It is Friday, July the 14th, and yes, we're going to act like it. I can promise you that.
I promise you that.
I know we're going to.
Sure, act like it. Yeah. We gonna act like it. Asparagus. Yes, sir.
Workers, they work 9 to 5.
All the workers, y'all.
Woo!
You want party?
Whether it's 9 to 5 or
Yeah,
6 a.m.
Friday.
to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Welcome.
6 to 2, 6 to 6.
Friday.
Hey, we're on the air, Will.
That's right.
Here for it.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. Robert Walsh leading off with the important news this morning that at his own charity event last night, Buck Rising's athletic inadequacies were on full display. That's what I'm told. That's what the streets are saying. I'm not saying it. I'm saying the streets are saying it. It's where I hear it from. Robert, can you confirm or deny?
Well, I am the streets, and I will
lovely.
say that Buck was horrendous in the half a frame that he rolled last night. He got a celeb shot, he bowled, and then he was like, no, that's good enough for me, and then walked off like the Walter Cronkite man that he is.
Yeah, and I saw you showed up, Bert. Look at you.
I did show up, and I want to tell y'all something. Do not, if you have to do something the next day, do not go somewhere where Ron Slay is.
Exactly.
Because he will make it infinitely harder for you to do what you have to do the next day. I was perfectly fine with going and staying for like one bowling game, and then all of a sudden I'm leaving at like close to 10 o'clock.
Responsibilities, right?
I'm telling you. Which is why I will say, I told y'all that I could not go and just be there for a little bit. I know myself, and then I end up staying a little bit longer than I needed to. But it's okay. Wasn't nobody late. We got here with no fires. Everything was okay.
Look at that.
Fantastic.
Besides my flat
Flat
tire.
tire.
Yeah, besides your flat tire. That's a slight fire.
I don't know what that was. I think that was Buck because all night I had been talking junk
He
about
slashed
him.
it.
I think he went out there and slashed my tire.
So how did Ron affect you and the patrons last night at the bowling activities?
Ron is just he has what's it called? A planet has its own
Its own solar system?
No, it's gravitational pull.
Oh.
Will, you're the smart one here. What's that called?
What was it?
A planet
Trying to get organized.
has anyway. Ron has
Gravitational pull.
There you go. Ron
you go.
has his own
Gravitational pull is
gravitational pull.
Yes.
Where if you're around him, he is going to suck you into all the fun things. I'm not complaining, but if you're there, you are going to feel it, and I'm feeling it, Mr.
So
Krabs.
who won? That's the biggest question.
I didn't see who the best bowler was. I tried. They had statistics up on the wall, and I tried to get them to print it out for me so I could make little updates throughout the day. But they
Right.
told me that wasn't a capability. But I
Oh.
will tell you that Hunk was not bad. Dawn started off rough, and then she just caught on fire.
Did she?
You'd be surprised to know that Kirby is not the best bowler, not the bowler you would think
I, for
he
one,
is.
am shocked
Oh.
that Kirby has
Really?
overpromised on his athletic prowess in any way. Shocked, I tell
He
you.
is not the bowler you would think he is, and Lucas Panzica was just happy to be there. In the one game that I played, it was Lucas, Kirby, myself, and another woman named Jennifer. I won with 86 points.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
What the heck?
What in the world?
What kind of bowling is that?
Hey, we should have put bumpers up. That's the kind of bowling it was.
Dang.
I know Lucas came up and rolled 3 straight frames with hitting 3 pins.
Oh,
What on earth? What is wrong with
Maybe they
our
did need us there.
employees?
I'm telling you, it was more of a socialite
right.
kind of thing rather than a bowling prowess kind of thing. But it was still fun. It was still fun.
I feel like it takes away from our sports just credibility of
Credibility.
criticisms. Like we can't be out here trash city pandas, okay, on the bowling alley, and we talk sports like this. Like there has to be a secret talent that somebody has to have had. 86 points led the way.
I think even Ron looked frustrated at some point.
I don't know, man. Ron was kind of killing it as the night went on. But the thing about them is they were doing that. They were having the event, and then kind of people stopped bowling, but they never stopped bowling. Like it would be
That
like
doesn't surprise me.
8 o'clock rolled around, and then Slay's out there
Yep.
in just his white
His
tank top.
Yep. Yep. There it
And
is.
then all of a sudden he's doing a cheers to everyone, and Coach Mack has to come and cut his microphone off.
Oh,
It was, I'm telling you, you got reckless towards the end of the
boy.
night, but it was a lot of fun. If you missed it, I hate you missed it.
So the bowling alley had a PA system, but not a printer, so we can print off stats.
Somebody tell me how that works.
Well, at this point, I'm infinitely more interested in who got last versus who won, because odds are we can't make fun of who won. We, as a show, can absolutely create content out of who got last.
Well,
if
it was
some
Buck.
random guy
It was
from
Buck,
that's what I'm
easily.
saying. That's what I'm saying. If some random listener that we don't know won, that's cool. But this, I think Buck had just unmuted the Ramon, Kayla, and Will show account as well, and I've just tagged him now and saying important developing story. Streets are saying Buck was the worst bowler at his own charity event last night.
That's terrible.
more importantly, how were we able to see who won on our draft when there was no poll?
Yeah, there's no 5-way poll.
There's no
So,
5-way
I mean, I don't know
I
who
feel
will.
like I won.
Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking.
No, I need the retweets from that.
We should have had
Slant fans.
Robert and Buck be a team, but then that wouldn't have been nearly as fun. So I regret nothing.
We're going to have to do a round robin where everyone faces each other and we move on to the next round.
That's way too confusing.
Somebody figure
too
out the
Come on.
Don't hurt you today, Junior.
Today, Junior.
The statistical Whatever, I'm done.
That's all right. You had a long
It's
night.
too
You're
early
forgiven.
for me to be doing this.
Actually, we might need to check on you here in a couple hours.
No. Do you need an IV? I feel like the IV place is across the street.
I am not Buck, y'all.
Oh,
I
okay.
will deal
Oh,
with
yeah.
a hangover like
fair.
everybody else does. I put my feet
What's
and I
that
put
like?
my legs and my jeans the same way everybody else does,
I did
one
not-
leg at a time.
You
Did not
do
know.
probably need food, though.
It just might have been inside out this morning.
Yeah. Oh.
Don Davenport, by the way, who is in Quarterback on Netflix.
Really?
Where?
Burying the lead. Beginning of episode 2 when they retire Patrick Mahomes' jersey. She was on the broadcast
Yes.
of that on ESPN.
Oh, no kidding.
Which I remember from last season. So I was watching it last night. I'll give a full review
Yeah,
later.
I watched it too.
10 out of 10. The Kirk Cousins parts. And
course.
she was like reporting about Mahomes. I was like, oh, what's up, Dawn? And then I texted her. I was like, oh, you've probably gotten 100 texts about this so far, but super cool you're on the Netflix show. And she was like, I am? I had no idea. It was kind of cool.
There's a lot of Titan stuff involved in the first couple of episodes, first few episodes, because clearly you've got Marcus and they go back to a lot from
Yeah.
the Titans era. And then you've got the game against the Titans in Kansas City. Was that last year, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so they did a lot on that where Patrick Mahomes is raving about Vrabel.
Wow. I gotta go check this out. I have time today. I'm watching that today.
I
I'm
didn't watch
watching
it,
that
the whole
today.
thing, but
Oh yeah, I gotta
Partway
go check
through.
this out.
I'm halfway through episode 2, so.
yeah.
I like when we're all anticipating a show or something like that, and it actually is good, like surprisingly good. Like that sounds surprisingly good, and I kind of want to
It is
watch it
good.
more now. Like that's how if you want to ever rope me into a show, talk about it, drop it, and then be like, man, it's phenomenal.
You do this
Yeah.
for your sports, do the bear for your entertainment.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
That's your homework.
There you go.
You know what? Where's my notepad?
And learn everything about every SEC school because SEC Media Day starts Monday.
I'm just proud I finished the session.
I am proud too.
That was
You're the eldest boy.
Job well done.
Connor. Is the eldest boy.
615-737-1045, the number. Coming up this morning at 6:20, we will revisit our conversation with Andy Staples. Really good stuff from him yesterday on a number of college football topics. Of course, Brent Hubbs, our weekly visit with him at 7:20. Ben Brown of Pro Football Focus, the betting side of PFF, that has an article out that is certainly not very complimentary to the Titans in their 1 through 32 NFL power rankings. We'll get his thoughts on that. And our good friend Ben Arthur of Fox Sports hits the AFC South headlines with us this morning at 9:20. Coming up, though, into the world of college football with our very good friend Andy Staples as we get ready for SEC Media Days. There may not be a bridge, but there will be talking season over on Broadway in Nashville coming up next week. That's how we get started this morning. Underbone, Caleb, and Will.
It's Ramon Foster for Zen Sports, and Zen Sports is the new sports book in Tennessee. Zen Sports brand is focused on making sports betting better today and always, and they do it in so many different ways to cash back rewards. It's easy to use. A lot of things coming towards the later part of the season, but the welcome bonus, just simply joining. You can earn 5% cash back on your bets for the first 15 days of betting on Zen Sports. The cash rewards program, too. Earn up to 3% of your betting volume back as a cash deposit to your account every month. And it happens every month, as I just told you, on the first of the month, too. The referral rewards program. Earn 3% of your referral betting volume back as a reward for the first 6 months of betting on Zen Sports as a cash deposit right to your account. The search and sort bets, it's easy to do on the site. You can set your favorite team, easiest experience possible when making or building parlays, and you can withdraw your cash within 24 hours or deposit instantly if you need to get a bet in. 24/7 customer support, easy to track rewards, no gimmicky promotional bets that look too good to be true, and rarely are. All right, so stop settling for Vegas rewards when Zen Sports is right here in Tennessee. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet.
Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and we're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. How you join in on the discussion? We've got the weirdest piece of jewelry in the history of football that we'll dive into coming up in about 20 minutes that I'm not here for. 615-737-1045. But right now, we get to Andy Staples, our very good friend from On3, a new venture for him that he details for us, covering college football for On3 and getting ready for SEC Media Days here in Nashville on Monday. Here's Andy Staples on RKW. Andy, tell us about your new role with On3. Really excited to follow along. And the first episode on the On3 YouTube channel, I know Monday this upcoming week. Just what can you tell college football fans about what they can expect and what you're going to be doing with those guys?
Well, it's a daily show. It's called Andy Staples On3, and we will be out. It's going to start this Monday, but normal weeks it'll be Sunday through Thursday,
Okay.
8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. on the On3 YouTube channel. If you can't get to it then, it'll be archived on YouTube. You watch it anytime you want. Also, the audio will be uploaded to all your favorite podcast platforms. So if you like listening to the podcast, and I know that all the folks who listen to my old podcast are like, when's it come? When's the podcast come back? It will be there for you when you wake up in the morning for your commute. Now, obviously, if you live in Nashville, you listen to this show first.
Yep.
You can listen to me later, on demand, anytime you want.
Perfect.
No doubt, man.
It's the right process. Andy, you guys at On3 have been in the NIL space and covering that area of college athletics better than anybody else in college media. And this story yesterday is interesting, of the collective association now and these 7 teams that are basically going through best practices and trying to, I guess, circumvent whatever authority the NCAA thinks it has when it comes to NIL. How significant is this that teams like Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss are working together on NIL?
Well, somebody has to make a realistic set of guidelines or best practices, because the NCAA is not going to. The NCAA, the people in charge, want to push it back to the Stone Age. They want to act like none of this stuff ever happened. That's not going to happen. They will not get the congressional law they want. It's not going to happen. They need to figure out how to live in the new world. They're not trying to. So these collectives are going to try to come up with a way to, at least compare notes and figure out what's going on. They're still going to compete with each other for players, though. That's the thing. Where you get in trouble is if you have collusion, where people are saying, well, we're going to agree not to pay this much. That's not going to happen here. You know how competitive all these schools are in terms of getting players. And so you're going to have a situation where they're probably going to work together on how to do business, but they also want to get the best players.
Andy, I had the question earlier, or we were speaking on NIL and stuff like that before you came on, and do you see a scenario in which mid-majors start to get big NILs where they say, we're tired of y'all stealing our players, and we can call it that, poaching, stealing, whatever you want to call it, recruiting. Will we see that?
We're already seeing it. Michael Pratt's the Tulane quarterback, and a bunch of people wanted him. And Tulane stepped up and made a deal, and he was happy there. Austin Reed at Western Kentucky, same thing. He goes into the portal, and he had a great year. He had come from a Division II school before that, and he did kick around the idea of signing with some Power 5 type programs. But Western Kentucky stepped up with a pretty good deal, and he's like, you know what? I like it here. Putting up big numbers. Let's go.
In that same sense, too, as far as being able to get guys out of the transfer portal, NIL deals, too, what's to be said about kids that are still in the portal right now that had big NILs, I'm sure, at some point in time, that don't have a college team to go into training camp with right now? What happens to them, the money they were promised, and just their futures if they're not committed?
Well, if they were promised money, it was to be at a certain school, and when they left that school, they left that money behind. And I hate to say it, it sounds cold, but look, you're playing for money at this point. You have to be a better player. If you're a better player, you'd have a team.
That's so true.
Andy, when I'm looking at these, college quarterbacks this year in 2023. Clearly, it's pretty stacked. And I know each year we say coming out of the college football season, oh, there's some really good quarterbacks that are going to be entering the draft. This list seems to be a little bit longer. Now, whether that plays out or not, that's to be seen. But you've got the obvious Caleb Williams, Drake May. Who's kind of a dark horse for you, Andy, early on?
Well, Carson Beck's the one nobody's talking about.
Ooh.
He's going to be the starting quarterback at Georgia. Georgia's going to be 12-0. Like, Carson Beck has a real good chance he winds up in New York. And I know everybody says, oh, he couldn't beat out Stetson Bennett. Well, okay, so as a freshman and sophomore, he couldn't beat out Stetson Bennett. That people change over time. I think we're getting so used to seeing quarterbacks come in and play right away as a freshman that we think, oh, well, that's the only way to do it. No, we've seen plenty of examples over the years of guys that maybe weren't ready to play when they got to college, but then evolved into that. And it seems like he has very good command of that offense. Mike Bobo's taken over as the play caller. They're going to throw it probably a little more. And I think it honestly has more to do with them losing Darnell Washington, the tight end, who was essentially another offensive tackle on the field and really just changed up the numbers in the run game. But that offense is probably going to be actually a little more effective throwing the ball than it was even last year. So he's going to put up some big numbers. There are a lot of good quarterbacks, Kaylee, and you mentioned, more than usual, and I think it's because of NIL, and it might only be a 1 or 2 year thing. So you have NIL, and then you have the extra year of eligibility from the pandemic. And so you have guys like Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, Bo Nix at Oregon. They're sticking around. Sam Hartman, who went from Wake Forest to Notre Dame, they're sticking around. They would have been gone to the NFL in the past, either because they ran out of eligibility because they didn't have that extra COVID year, or because they were going to be a 5th or 6th round pick and they wanted to start their NFL careers. But now you can make some pretty good money and you can come back and maybe improve your draft stock. So I think that's why you see a little bit of a surplus of good experienced quarterbacks this year.
We saw what happened at Florida with, one of the top recruits in the country thinking he was going to get a bag, didn't end up getting that money. Now, he's obviously not committed there. How often, Andy, are we still seeing these big time programs or even, just anybody who's trying to give these recruits money and not following through? Is that still a thing that's happening?
That wasn't a thing that was happening then. The reason it was such a big story is because it happened that way. It's bad business, and it was terribly embarrassing for Florida, and they're still dealing with the fallout from the whole Jaden Rashada situation. It's not good to be known in those circles as a place where you're going to get promised this and you're not going to get it. You've got to follow through on it. So, I've heard of a couple cases of little small deals that maybe didn't quite go through, but nothing to that effect. If you're promising somebody a fairly significant deal, you need to follow through. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble recruiting people going forward. Now, the Florida one was a little bit different because there was no real money behind that. The numbers were artificially inflated on the contract. Like somebody either representing the kid or with the program should have looked at those numbers and said, this is not real. This is unrealistic. You'd never actually do this. So what are we doing here? But that didn't happen, and you got all of it blowing up in everybody's face.
Andy Staples on 3, our guest this morning here on Ramon, Kalen, Will. Andy, Northwestern now with an opening this late in the process. This is not your grandfather's Northwestern with the facilities they've built, with what Pat Fitzgerald has done on the football field with that program. What is kind of the conversation around that opening, and is there a name among the rest of the pack that makes the most sense for them?
Well, they don't have to hire anybody right now. They're going to do an interim thing through the whole season, and they'll enter the regular coaching carousel. Their drawback right now is their administration, which really bungled this whole Pat Fitzgerald thing. We don't even know what the AD does. Derek Gregg is the AD. You haven't heard a word from him, which is just embarrassing. So the question is the administration going to be the same? Will it be the same AD, same president when you get to the time when they're actually hiring a coach in November? I think that's a pretty key question, because if they get that part straightened out, then, there's going to be people who want this job, because of those high academic schools, Northwestern has had the most recent success. They played in the Big Ten championship game twice in the last 5 years. Pat Fitzgerald had, several 9-win seasons there. They have a ton to sell. You mentioned the facilities. They're obviously in one of America's great cities, or in the suburbs of it, and they can pay because they're in the Big Ten. Like the Big Ten schools, they all are going to have a ton of money when this new TV deal kicks in this year. So they're going to be able to pay as much or more than any SEC school, and way more than the schools in the ACC and the Big 12 and the Pac-12. So you look at people who like coaching at that kind of school, who've done a good job. Like the one name to me that pops out, and Ramon's going to hate this, I know, but Dave Clawson at Wake Forest.
I knew it.
He wants to coach at a high academic school. He's built perhaps the best pound-for-pound program in the country at Wake Forest. It's the smallest school in the FBS by enrollment. They don't have the same resources as, say, Clemson or a lot of the Florida State, the schools they have to compete with in the ACC. Yet they've been very competitive. Even beat Clemson for the ACC Atlantic title a couple of years ago. So that's a name I would look at. And then like Lance Leipold at Kansas, who's done an incredible job there. He was the head coach at Wisconsin Whitewater. That's his part of the country in the Midwest. So, I think there will be coaches, as long as the administration is something they're comfortable with, there will be coaches who will go, you know what, even if this doesn't work out, I'm going to collect like $45 million when all is said and done between the years I coach and the buyout. I'm taking this chance.
We were doing so good, Andy.
That is a one-way.
I know, Ramon. I knew we were going to go. I knew as soon as I brought the name up, it was going to happen.
I knew that you would drop Florida in there somewhere, and I knew that was a thing.
I didn't drop Florida. Kayla dropped Florida.
Kayla did,
Sneaky
but
drop.
of course, it is what it is, Andy. But let's get back on track with another enemy of ours. Bama this year, man.
Yeah.
They forever will get the Jimmys and Joes, right? But the question I have is, one of the positions where the Jimmys and Joes is a quarterback. What does that situation look like? Apparently, they're supposed to be good. They got a few 5 stars, 4 stars, a lot of guys competing. Will they actually get back on the right pathway this year with their quarterback play?
I don't know that they're gonna have what they've had the last 4 guys they've had at quarterback.
Yeah.
And think about the run they've been on. Since Jalen Hurts took over the first game of 2016, they've had Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, Bryce Young. That's one of the best runs anybody's ever had in terms of consecutive quarterbacks, and definitely the best run in the history of Alabama football, which is a very storied history. So to expect that to continue forever was unrealistic. But I think we probably – I know I was surprised when they came out of spring and didn't feel like any of the highly recruited quarterbacks they had on their roster was definitely the guy. Like, them going out to get Tyler Buchner as a transfer from Notre Dame tells you that they didn't feel good about the guys they had. They want to add to this competition. Now, I don't know who winds up starting. The assumption is it's either Tyler Buchner, Jalen Milroe, or Ty Simpson, that the 2 freshmen really aren't in the mix. But it's an interesting situation because I came across a clip on YouTube. I don't know why YouTube served this clip up to me the other day, but it was I was like, oh, this is interesting. It was Ryan Kelly, who's the Colts starting center now. He was Alabama's center in the mid 2010s. And it was at SEC Media Days in 2015. And everybody's asking about the quarterback competition. And I had forgotten about this. They had 5 guys still in competition going into preseason camp in 2015. They ended up winning the national title.
Wow.
And Jake Coker didn't end up playing in the NFL, but he was so surrounded by talent that he did a good enough job to win the national title. They may be in that situation again this year. Whoever wins this job is going to be so surrounded by talent. Now, there is the issue of you got LSU that has a lot of top-end talent and a quarterback that they really like in Jane Daniels and a backup they really like in Garrett Nussmeier. You've got Georgia, obviously, that is completely loaded. So it's a little bit different SEC than that 2015 Alabama team faced. But I wouldn't be shocked if they wind up winning the West.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're good enough to beat Georgia, but we wouldn't find that out until the SEC championship game.
So there is Andy Staples of On3 with us on RKW, and it raises the good question, guys, that I think is one of the biggest going into SEC Media Days. Can Nick Saban and Alabama turn back the clock and win with a game manager at quarterback again? And did Georgia really just do that the last 2 years? Because you could make the argument, at least this past season, Stetson Bennett was a heck of a lot better than just a game manager.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was. Had the opportunity to develop. That's the one thing that you don't get when you have a bunch of 5 stars, though, right? Is they want to see you play and play well right now. That's so tough to do. And I was thinking as Andy was talking again just then, it's just the idea that it is hard to find actual playmakers.
Right.
Bama has a quarterback room that's full of high school guys, prodigies, playmakers. Georgia does too right now. And those 2 squads have questions about it. Of course, we do too as Vols. Like, it's hard to actually say that's the guy. Nobody expected a guy like Stetson Bennett or, heck, even on the pro level, Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? Like, who expects that type of stuff to happen for guys, you know, that's not highly rated?
And I think real quick with Alabama's situation, too, you are looking at it also as well. You have the new offensive coordinator in there, too. So how is that going to gel with, you know, everything as a whole? So there's still a lot of question marks in terms of Alabama's offense this upcoming season. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch play out.
It is, because a lot can depend on the quarterback play because Alabama's gotten so used to it. Kayla, you mentioned that point of the offensive coordinator. Like, that right there has to be thrown into the equation when you speak about the Tide, right? Because I know they always change, but this is a new guy from a new conference. It's not like it's Lane Kiffin that's coming in understanding what the SEC play is or had an SEC playbook.
Right.
This is a little bit different. And you got to say, is he calling his own plays as offensive coordinator, or is he calling plays for the quarterback that's in? That's the balance you have to figure out.
615-737-1045, our number. Other headlines yesterday where the Jets and Quinnen Williams have a deal, and he's making a little bit more than Jeffrey Simmons. $2 million more, to be exact. 4-year contract worth $66 million guaranteed. Ramon, are there any other contracts you want to speak into existence for us?
I know. That was so funny yesterday.
No, I knew that one. Apparently, I heard on the radio his brother is slated to be paid, too. I think they're on the same team.
He did. He got paid this offseason. He got a 3-year, $18 million extension.
So he ain't even got to borrow no money.
No kidding.
Yeah. I think his older brother's on the team with him, too.
Quincy. He is
Quincy.
a linebacker.
I had
Quincy
no
and
clue.
Quinnen?
Yep.
Oh.
Quincy and Quinnen.
Don't you have alliteration
terrible.
of names?
Yeah,
with
but that wasn't on purpose, reportedly.
Yeah.
Reportedly, as in from my parents. That wasn't on purpose.
And shout out to his agent, too, because Nicole is
she-
killing it right now.
She
is getting, is her or she, or whatever you want to call it.
however you want to flip the
Yeah.
vice versa, Kayla. She is crushing. Apparently just had a baby this offseason, too.
It's Jalen Hurts' agent, for those who are unfamiliar.
Heck, yeah.
I think
she's
Quinnen
got
was
a lot.
her first big get.
I remember seeing her when she was down here in Nashville for the draft. Sure did. She's taking care of her guys. But yeah, that's big time for him. And also, you know what I thought of when I saw Quinnen get it? You guys have another player in Tennessee besides Derek that is a top 5 guy paid at their position. Like, you say what you want to about the Titans. Like, the players have been here. It's a matter of what the cast around them is going to look like. It's Aaron Donald, Quinnen, Jeff. I'm sure Chris Jones is about to tap on the door, too. It's like, hey, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Remember me? But Jeff's in the top 5 as far as NFL D-tackle pay goes, man. It says a lot about his playmaking ability and a respect factor around the NFL, too.
Rightfully so.
I will say this, that the Quinnen Williams deal does affect the Titans because it might give Kansas City more of a benchmark of what they can extend Chris Jones to and what they may have the ability to pay DeAndre Hopkins, should he be available or interested in going to Kansas City. The interest is the part of that that's been reported differently by different sources. Diana Rossini even said on the Buck Rising show that she didn't feel like it was something they were planning on or something that they really needed to do. And Jeremy Fowler of ESPN has said otherwise. So I think, I don't know if there's right or wrong information there. I just think you talk to different people within the facility, they'll say different things.
Yeah.
So we'll see. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in here in hour 1. And coming up, the weirdest piece of jewelry in the history of sports is making its way to college football this year. And this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And I can't decide if I love it or hate it. Coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. Does your garage door struggle to open or close? Are the wheels falling off the track? Is your remote not working the way it needs to? Maybe some days it's working, some days it's not. It's always the days where we've got the least amount of time to get to work, right? Too, that these things mess up. Well, the professional Lee Company team, they've got you covered for all your garage door service needs. And right now, you can enjoy $50 off a garage door repair or tune-up. Contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com to make an appointment. That's leecompany.com for $50 off your next garage door repair or tune-up. Do what I do and trust the folks who have been trusted for nearly 80 years. They do it all, and they will take care of you efficiently at leecompany.com. That's where you make the appointment. The phone number again, 615-567-1000. That's Lee Company, all you need. Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Coming up at 7 o'clock, my initial review, Kayla's as well, we're viewers of Quarterback on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Some things Titans fans will like, some things maybe not quite as much coming up. But first, Notre Dame quarterback Sam Hartman has made one of the stranger requests that I can remember in college football. He is asked to make a necklace out of one of his ribs.
Okay.
A necklace of one of his ribs. His mom, Lisa, tells The Athletic that I should have been more surprised, but he was going into surgery and made the request and said, hey, afterwards, can I keep the rib? And she thought he was joking. He was not joking. Last August, he had a surgery after being diagnosed with Paget-Schroeder syndrome and had 2 procedures to get rid of a blood clot, clean up the tissue, and remove his highest rib near his collarbone so the blood vessels would have more space to prevent future clotting. Kind of gruesome for 647. But now he has a necklace like a shark's tooth of one of his ribs.
Where are you at, Kayla?
I mean, I know this is what the first people came from. They took a rib out of Adam, but I think we were good with Adam and Eve. I don't think we needed to run this back, Sam Hartman.
Look, I'm sure he's making a little NIL money to buy some sort of another necklace. Maybe that's just the Amazon deal that he's looking for with using his own rib. But that's weird to me. Whatever, to each is your own. But when you said that, I immediately went into ugh mode.
I've never actually seen you like this because you stomach a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And gore. I feel like you're okay with this.
It just is weird.
This picture of you imagining his rib necklace is bothering you this morning. And I'm okay with that, Kayla, because there's absolutely no way you can put that around my neck.
I think it's because we don't know what it looks like, because I'm on the side of this is pretty badass.
I think it's awesome. Weird, but it's awesome.
I think we're thinking about Fred Flintstone, right? Like he's going to walk in like a ooga ooga ooga, like a caveman, bone around his neck. I don't think that's the case. And even if that is the case, I think it's pretty badass.
I think I'd rather it be some animals than his own. I don't know that it just, for some reason, because it's his own.
He's
it
got
weirds me out.
Chicken bone necklace.
Yeah.
He's like whoever
Right?
the wing eating champion is.
Yeah.
Has a chicken
There we
bone
go.
necklace.
It's not like it's a rabbit's foot. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Which is also
rabbit's
pretty
foot.
brutal. If you think about
That's
it.
The rabbit
true.
foot is kind of brutal.
PETA's gonna come after us
It
there.
is. Do they not even sell those anymore?
Nope.
Huh?
I think so.
They do
I don't
not
know.
do
It's
that.
off the market. But I just can't imagine my own bones around my neck though. That.
That's what your clavicle is. It's bones around your neck.
Yeah, but it's on the outside touching my, outside skin. That's where the problem is. But I'll tell you this, that is the ultimate, conversation starter in,
yeah.
college bars. And I will not say all
You
that.
think girls like it?
He's already a quarterback. Why does he need
he doesn't need help.
What does he need? They're like, oh, I love your necklace. He's like, can I talk about
My
how...
own rib.
I got so many inappropriate jokes for that, man.
I know,
Just
that would
leave
be
it alone.
Patrick Mahomes taking steroids now.
Right.
You're good.
Yeah.
You don't have to, buddy.
The guy that can walk in the bar and immediately command the attention of the 3 brunettes over by the bar. You don't need help. You're good. You football guys, Ramon. Y'all just walk into a
You
bar and
football
just
guys.
gravitate. Just anyone you want to talk to.
You know why, though, man? It's because football players live a wild life. The sport that you're actually getting into, you have to almost be an outward person. So when you walk into parties, look, man, I got one day a week that I can really enjoy myself, and this is the one party day that I can actually embrace. Let's go. So,
Only one?
Because the conversations of being ready for practice all the time, and it's always physical, and it's always hot, and it's always
Now you got more
outside.
games.
You know what I'm saying? So football players usually do take over a party. We didn't go to a basketball school though, or a baseball school, so it's kind of hard to say the basketball players at UK really run the parties. When they show up, that's when the parties start. When the football players,
There's
most
always
times,
football, yeah.
yeah.
You could be football players at University of the South, former SEC power Sewanee, and it would be the same thing. It doesn't matter if that football and baseball have this power more than anyone. where you can walk into a party and you captivate an entire audience immediately.
I feel like baseball peak guys are like cops. Like they almost have to have their uniform on to be, because that's what all the women are always like. Oh, look at those butts on those baseball boys.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
If you're not wearing your baseball attire, they're not going to be able to see the cheeks like that. They're normally talking about it. So I feel like baseball guys are like cops in that aspect, where it's like you wouldn't know he's a good-looking man in a uniform unless you saw him like that.
We all have our types in college, right? Like,
for sure.
Baseball has always been a big fan. I'm a big fan of baseball.
Yeah.
But, the football players, they knew how to get the party started. They were the ones that started the dance floor. They were the ones that kept it going. And then you'd have the baseball guys that were just kind of like, they'd chill in there.
Yeah.
They were friends with all football guys, but
cool.
yeah, they were just kind of the chill ones.
When Taylor Lewan hosted with 3HL, he was talking about going to wrestling parties. I never was invited to a wrestling party.
Well, we didn't have wrestling.
We didn't have wrestling?
No.
Like a wrestling?
We don't sponsor
College
wrestling at the
wrestling?
University of Tennessee at Knoxville.
He said that's by far the wildest party sets he's ever been a part
Or
of.
Those are like
hockey.
the kings in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
Big Ten
hockey's
country.
like that too.
Hockey's like that too?
Yeah, because Michigan's one of the best hockey schools too.
I can imagine like every party would have to be a wrestling set. Like somebody's wrestling with the wrestlers.
You got it.
Is that what it is?
Exactly. And hockey,
Really?
too. At
Yeah.
ECU, both of those were the houses you did not want to go to. And oddly enough, the swimming at ECU,
Oh.
the
Swimmers
swimming,
get after
the
it.
swimmers,
Absolutely,
dude,
they do.
You have to be, as Buck
Can
says,
confirm.
head on a swivel
Yep.
with
No.
swimmers.
Yep.
Yes.
100%.
That's interesting.
Oh, no, yeah. Endurance athletes don't mess around. Come on, respect
Dang.
us, please.
It's because they can burn alcohol off super
Can't
fast.
burn anything off super fast.
Yeah, they be burning, I'll tell you that.
And lacrosse, you just want to stay away.
Yeah.
So lacrosse
Or
guys,
rugby.
Or
Or
rugby.
rugby.
lacrosse, baseball, and hockey guys are the same. Just depends on what part of the country you live in.
Wrestlers too.
Yeah,
Throw
I
them
didn't
in
grow
there.
up with lacrosse.
Wrestlers are different.
Totally different. They're like the black sheep almost.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
no.
they didn't
They're
fit
their
in
own thing.
anywhere else.
Okay.
They got to
they-
make weight. They're not worried about things.
A lot of time they have a cauliflower ear, so I tended to stay away from them.
You ever just stared at one?
Yeah. My
But,
friend wrestled, so
Oh.
it was gross.
Before we get out of the bone segment, I wanted to bring up that maybe I think this is cool because when I was a kid, my dad collected all of my baby teeth. He still has all of my baby teeth. And I remember him saying, like, oh, I want him to make a necklace. I want him to make a necklace. And I never thought he would do it. And when I got, I had 2 impacted canines as a 30-year-old. That's why I have braces. And I gave him my last 2 baby teeth, and he pulled out this string and of the rest of the
No, he
teeth,
didn't.
dude. Yeah, and he put his holes in. And I was like, okay. So my dad is.
Wear it tomorrow.
It's a no. My dad has
Shoot.
it. One, my dad has it, and
Wow.
2, I would never.
That's crazy.
Ever. My dad was like Crocodile Dundee with the baby teeth. I'm like, that's not a tooth. This is a
God.
tooth.
We be breaking
I
down.
would be
my
in pure
God.
tears.
The
Me too.
the best. I can't even comprehend what you just said, Robert. The
Insane.
Not before 7 a.m. The best parties though at Tennessee, without a shadow of a doubt, were soccer.
Soccer.
And that's not just because I'm saying it. The soccer girls' house would host whoever in the athletic department wanted to do anything, or
I'm
just
with you.
Dobbs. And I've told that story before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Trey Smith's recruiting weekend. It was just like, all right, every team is represented at Dobbs with Dobbs. Yeah,
Soccer girls can get down with the parties situation.
quite a bit.
That's at Washington State too. That was it. I had a couple of friends who played, and they would host the best parties.
For real?
Oh yeah, and they were good too.
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder why. Is it because like soccer is an expensive travel sport too, so they come from a little bread so they can get a little, the spirits every
Good
once
question.
in a while.
I think soccer girls are cool. Like I just think
It's just cool.
they've got a cool vibe. Like they always are friends with the athletes, but they're not
Yeah.
like just the girls that are dating them.
Like, they go
They're kind of
hard,
like the
too.
cool
Yeah.
girls. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they were untouchable. You had to be a quarterback or a first baseman or a pitcher to date a soccer girl, without a shadow of a doubt. Definitely couldn't be a track runner.
I'd be lying. Anything that I looked like I could play, I'd be telling them I was a punter, I was a catcher.
We did once. We were in the airport
Water boy.
coming back. Or no, we were in like we were in a Panera in like Blacksburg, Virginia. And this lady walked up to us like, "Are y'all the Tennessee basketball team?"
Why, yes, ma'am, I am.
Right?
Would you like to purchase this bread bowl for me?
Hola, Santiago Vescovi. How are you?
That's great.
615-737-1045. Yeah, we had to sadly, like, no, we're not. It was like, oh,
Dang
okay.
it.
Unless your granddaughter is here, and then I would be. Did she go to Tennessee?
Yeah, right.
We're having a party tonight.
Coming up, the Titans get a lot of love in a new Netflix series that features one of our 104.5 The Zone teammates, Don Davenport, in there, like we discussed earlier as well. What to expect from quarterback on Netflix, and my favorite part of it, coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Literally 7 o'clock on the dot. What the heck's going on? Good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Jets and defensive tackle Quinnen Williams have agreed to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, locking him up through 2027. The deal makes Williams the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL behind Aaron Donald. Quinnen Williams received $2 million more than Jeffrey Simmons. Williams is now the first Jets player selected in round one to sign a second contract with the organization since Muhammad Wilkerson, whom they also picked, also in the first round, but in 2011. Former NFL standout quarterback of
the Indianapolis Colts,
Philip Rivers, announced that he and his wife Tiffany are expecting a 10th child. So that means that Philip Rivers, if he is playing all-time quarterback, can pull in a complete offense right in the backyard. Way to go, Phil. Keep it up. Or don't. It'd probably be a whole lot cheaper if you didn't. And from the Split Happens event last night, Hunk had his redemption moment. He was no longer the worst bowler at the studio, at the station in 104.5 The Zone Split Happens. That goes to one Buck Rising. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Friday, and we're acting like it with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. And in 20 minutes, VolQuest's Brent Hubbs will stop by as we catch up with him on potentially a very big day for Tennessee football as NCAA. Finally, an end to an NCAA investigation could come to an end today.
Ooh.
In Knoxville. More details of that coming up in just a moment. But our Friday anthem, of course, begins hour number 2.
Drop it.
Hey. And we gonna act like it. Kayla and Will. Yes, sir. What we gonna do?
Party.
Yeah, we are. How was B-Hop when this came on? He understood the assignment? He understood it. I knew he
Good vibes.
did. I knew he did. I knew B-Hop.
615-737-1045, the number. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, good people.
Hope
We
you,
made it.
Properly
We
act
did.
like it. Quarterback on Netflix is outstanding. And there is a trend right now in sports documentary filmmaking that I like, that I feel like different documentaries that have come out. This started with Drive to Survive, the Formula One all-access in-season documentary on Netflix. And I think Drive to Survive kind of set the trend for this because now you have Breakpoint, which is about the tennis world with new episodes that just came out. You've got Full Swing about the PGA Tour, which I thought was outstanding. Hard Knocks in season that HBO did with the Indianapolis Colts. And now you've got quarterback. And I like that they are picking one quarterback from the bottom of the league, one from the middle, and one from the top. Because I think that's the coolest part of this, Kayla, since you've watched some of this too so far, is that you have, if you're splitting NFL quarterbacks into 3 tiers of the 32 starting quarterbacks that began last season, you've got one of each. Mm-hmm. And I think it's cool to see the different kinds of stories that come out of Patrick, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, because in so many ways, they are very different in terms of, A, the teams they're on, B, the success they're having, and C, the home life. But in some ways, they're very similar. And I think this shows a little bit more of the home life and maybe like how much goes into, having to still dedicate time to, your significant other. Obviously, Kirk Cousins has kids already. Patrick Mahomes had a kid, was having a kid at the same time. Brittany was pregnant. And then Mariota having his first child with his wife. So you got to see a lot of the behind the scenes things too with how they try to kind of manage that as well. And I think it was interesting too, just to get Marcus to even do this, because again, he has always been an introverted guy. Like he even admitted it on the show. Like he's never been that kind of guy who loves the limelight. And we saw it here in Tennessee too. Just he'd talk to the media all the time. Very nice guy, but just, I did not picture him doing something like this. So I thought it was kind of cool he did that. Kirk Cousins, you learn a lot of stuff about him that, he does seem like, the everyday guy, the average Joe. But I was interested in some of the things that they talked about with his childhood and growing up and some of the hobbies he had then. And then Patrick Mahomes, I think you start to like him a little bit more if you didn't like him necessarily before.
Yeah.
He's relatable. As much success as he's had in his life, he's a relatable guy.
Good. I'm actually good to hear because all I thought about when they did this was, here's the good old boys club again. Like they want to highlight them as much as they possibly can. But I'm glad to hear it. Like they're showing some personality, showing some rawness of who they are as people, because they do get put on a pedestal a little bit more than others, almost more than any other sport that a team is collected upon. Like, of course, LeBron gets his love and D Wade got his love and stuff like that. But the quarterback is like, you walk in the room, the quarterback. So I'm glad to see we get to see some personality and the fact that not every quarterback lives the same life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick is more likable than I thought he would be, and I kind of hate that. Like, I want to hate the Chiefs, and I want to hate Patrick Mahomes, but he kind of comes across as a normal dude. And, I honestly think the bit about his wife is kind of played out now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people need to kind of leave Brittany Mahomes alone.
Yeah.
I kind of liked her, what I've seen from her so far, because she's kind of fiery, like, in terms of she really supports, like, they've known each other since high school. Sorry, maybe middle school, I think it was.
7th grade, they said, yeah.
That's so cool. First of all, I was like, whoa, that is rare that type of thing happens. But they show her throughout some of the games and, like, her support, and she's just genuinely invested. And I kind of respect that. And so, yeah, I kind of look at her a little different even after seeing a little bit of this.
For someone who found their wife in college, I did, and he found his in high school. This is the thing, though, too. Those women, unless they're just that type, don't know the chances and odds of a person making it. I just want to speak up for the wives of the one, because we spoke about, what's his name, Deion Dawkins yesterday, in the sense, like, you don't know if your husband, boyfriend, or whoever's going to make it or not make it on the next level. Hey, Keisha didn't have a doggone clue what she was getting herself into. And by the way, today is our 11th anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Keisha and Moan.
11 years married, and I think it's 16, 17 together. So, in fact, 16 together, because she was like, we're at the 5-year mark.
Where's the ring?
It wasn't that, but it was just like, for Brittany Mahomes to be in that position. Yes, she get a lot of flack, but she probably rode that wave with him going to, Texas Tech? Out of college, I didn't know what Patrick Mahomes was until we played him. I had no idea what Patrick Mahomes, who he was, until we played them on the field. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what we got going on here. He is that great.
Kirk Cousins comes across as a king. They show videos of him singing "Pretty Woman."
I knew that was what was going to get Will even more.
I loved it. I was in on that. The fact that his wife picks out the clothes he wears, and they showed the tweets of them being like, Kirk Cousins looks like a guy who is swimming in Kohl's Cash, which I thought was tremendous. And he was like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm just kind of a normal guy. Like, I don't really know. And his wife was like, yeah, we shop at Target. Like, if that's something you want to make fun of, then go for it. But, like, we're just normal people. It's like, you know what? The people's quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
And that's why I think this
king.
is good for him, though, Will,
Yeah.
because a lot of the stuff that, we didn't know much about Kirk. Like, that's the thing. I had heard, like, he's not one of those guys that's just outwardly talking in the media all the time. Like, we didn't really know much about him. So this kind of offers up a little bit of, like, explanation of that and just showing that, he is kind of just that normal dude. And when he does have those moments, like, do you like that? Did you like that? When he was in Washington and the chains, that makes us be like, whoa, that's kind of fun. Like he's kind of got that personality in him. And in those moments, that's, kind of when it comes out.
Yeah, it is. I'm just glad to hear they say they shop at Target. That's all right with me. That is
Sure. I love Target.
And then the thing that jumps out about Marcus is how in the world are so many people still mispronouncing Mariota?
Thank you. I turned to Travis Will and I said, you have got to be kidding me.
It's ridiculous.
They're still saying that?
And even it was funny, they played his first touchdown run as a Raider. And it's Brent Musburger going, Mariota, jackpot, baby. Like, okay, let's worry less about where your bet's going to be placed, bud, and where, how to actually pronounce the name of your literal starting quarterback.
Dude.
If there's one player whose name needs to be pronounced correctly, it's the quarterback who literally touches the ball in every play.
And no one can get it right.
And
to this
nobody
day.
can get it right.
It's just like Mario, and then you add a ta. It's like Mater without the ta, whatever, for the Cars quote.
Did he cringe when they said it wrong or anything?
It
No,
didn't
I mean,
show,
you can't tell, but
Yeah.
I imagine that he's used to it at this point.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have to be used to it because he's a freaking Heisman Trophy winner.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
It's not like this guy was a practice squad guy who grinded his way up or a undrafted dude out of an FCS school that you're just trying to figure it out because he didn't have a media department where he went. Like, legitimately, there is more around the Oregon football program in terms of the off the field and the media and the PR as any other school in the country.
Do you know what I really liked? That I saw some emotion out of him, some kind of mean emotion you don't usually see out of Mariota, is when they went and played the Seahawks last year up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
They practice at University of Washington Stadium. I have never seen Marcus like that disgusted to walk into purple and gold and have to practice on that field. And he kind of explained the rivalry that Oregon and Washington have. It's a big rivalry. And so he was just kind of like, what's this purple and gold? Like, this is disgusting. It was pretty funny.
I got to see this now. Y'all have hyped it up
That's
really
good.
well. I'd have to watch this today. Have to.
I'm more interested in stuff like that's in season because it's like I said yesterday. I just feel like who's going to make the roster? Big voice guy from HBO on Hard Knocks. Like, I just feel like that's played out.
I'll still watch it, but
I think I am going to watch the Jets.
I'll watch it for the sake of the show because I'm not going to be left out in it. And
Yeah.
if, the footballing community is watching it, then I kind of have to, but I'm not going to like it.
we'll see what happens.
Not
Maybe they'll
gonna like it.
surprise
I'm
us.
not.
Keep an open mind.
So what do you need out of Hard Knocks then for it to be entertaining to you?
Literally, it's impossible.
It really is?
It's impossible for it to really interest me.
Not even like the camp fights?
Because it hasn't changed in, 20 years?
Not even like the cussing Rex Ryan? No?
There is enough sports documentary filmmaking
He's
now.
a professional cursor.
Huh? I thought you were talking about
Rex
me.
Ryan. No.
What if it was like the last time that the Jets quarterback got in a physical altercation? Geno Smith. What if something like that happened to Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers? Would you watch
baby.
then?
I'd see it on Twitter, so I wouldn't need to watch it on Hard
Like
Knocks.
him and Zach
I would have
Wilson?
seen it 2 weeks before.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the little trash talking.
That'd
Like,
be
yeah,
awesome.
the thing, like, if anything notable happens in training camp now, we have it on Twitter.
it's just like catching him with a hot mic, man. That was a sucky pass by Aaron right there. Like, can you imagine like that?
Aaron has enough microphones.
Well, I wanted to be the best production ever now, Kayla.
Me too.
Like Bert, legitimately.
I mean, I'll watch it.
Emmy winning.
I hope
Emmy award winning.
Easily. I hope the rookie performances that they have, I hope they're phenomenal. I hope somebody moonwalks like Michael Jackson. I hope somebody says like Will and then bowling separately so we can like crop it out.
Here you
and,
go.
Like, do
Episode
it.
1 is going to be like, this undrafted rookie had a great rookie initiation song. Here's the new offensive coordinator who is
You don't
trying to
know
work
us.
well with the head coach after failing at his previous stop. Here's a likable position coach you've never heard of before. No, it's not going to be Todd Downing. And he's got a great story and great family. Here are his kids. And then it's like, veteran X, Y, or Z player has been here for 12 years and never won a Super Bowl.
I hate you.
He wants to win one this year.
I
and
hope
that's
it's just-
there you go. There's episode 1 of Hard Knocks.
They just go down to the dungeon with Aaron Rodgers the whole show.
Oh, too. I kind
Now
of
that I would
psychedelics.
watch. You'd have
Yeah.
to take
whole
in a
show.
light, which is frowned
I don't
upon.
want to see that.
Okay.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
I want to see who
Thank you,
Aaron
Kenny.
Rodgers is dating too. Like, there's got to be a new one.
There's got to be a
Right?
new one.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe him and Zach Wilson will argue over a mom.
I thought you were going to say maybe him and Zach Wilson were dating. First.
No,
I was
no,
like,
no,
wow,
not that.
That'd be a sight.
They're in the same dating pool.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Legitimately.
saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming up, could be a really big day for Tennessee athletics. Brent Hubbs from VolQuest.com and On3 joins us next, where there is a chance that Tennessee finds out about its NCAA penalties in football today. But it is likely that we will know before Tennessee takes the podium next week here in Nashville at SEC Media Days. Brent Hubbs with the latest coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Hey there, I'm joined by certified arborist Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art, Tree and Shrub. And Dean, you guys are the experts and you offer so many great services. Can you tell us more today, though, about how you can help with protecting those mature trees during construction? We see a lot of it here in Nashville.
Yeah, hey, happy Friday, everybody. Good morning. As far as the construction goes, I see it all the time. People come into town and they have rooms added onto their new homes or tear downs and then rebuilds and whatever. And a couple of years go by and the trees, the big mature trees on the lot start to die off and decline, and they call us too late. If you call us 615-299-9999, we will get out there when you set up with your contractor. And we can make sure we can protect your mature trees around that property so they can put up with the stress from the compacted soil and possible root damage or whatever. So we kind of become the tree sheriffs of your property while that's going on. So again, 615-299-9999 for all your ornamental pruning and all your tree maintenance. Arbor Art Tree Care, I'm really proud of our crew, our company. It's 29 years in business, so here we go. So give us a call, 615-299-9999. Have a great weekend, y'all.
That is right. That is Arbor Art, Tree and Shrub for exceptional service every time. You can count on that. Call 299-9999 or just check them out at arborart.net.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone on a beautiful Friday. I say beautiful. It feels like you're at the beach. If you've gone outside in Nashville today, it's like you're just sitting in an oven.
Yeah,
I don't recommend it.
Or what do they call it? Proofing breads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you
I
got
don't
a
enjoy
baked
it.
bread is poofing. Yeah, you're in a humid stock yard right now.
That's Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh joining us this morning. Brent Hubbs of allquest.com with our full crew back together. What's up, Brent? How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys this morning?
Good.
We are good. And with SEC Media Days next week, we've talked a lot about the possibility that Tennessee hears its NCAA penalties before Josh Heupel gets to the podium. What can you tell us about maybe the possibility of a Friday news dump today from the NCAA? Is that an option?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. Not saying it's definitely going to happen, but timing-wise, it makes some sense. Here's how the NCAA works. They give the school a 24 hours notice that it's coming, and then they will alert the media about 3 or 4 hours before it's going to be released. So, for example, they might release something at the top of this hour, and then the news dump could come at noon Eastern. Tennessee's not allowed to comment on anything until after the NCAA has a media call to discuss their ruling, and then Tennessee will offer a statement, would be my guess after that. I don't think Tennessee will have a formal press conference. They'll just offer a statement. Tennessee will not get the ruling or notify. They will not know what the ruling is until, probably an hour and a half before it's released. That'll give them and their lawyers time to come up with a statement and go from there. And I think whatever Tennessee says whenever all this happens will come out of the chancellor's office, because it happened on her watch. It didn't happen on Danny White's watch. So I think anything that comes out of that will come from the chancellor's office whenever this news dump happens. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's today. The 90-day window hits on Wednesday. Next week is 90 days. They're not going to do that to Tennessee and Josh Heupel and say, hey, we're going to give this to you on a Wednesday afternoon. You're doing, SEC Nation Wednesday night, and then you're going to stand in front of the podium all day on Thursday, and you're the first one to really make a comment about it. So I don't think that will be the way they go, which is why I think it's a possibility it could happen today. Friday's not the NCAA dumps a lot of stuff or puts out a lot of news a lot of times midday on Friday. So I won't be surprised if it happens. Don't know for sure, but it won't shock me at all.
So, Brent, you mentioned this in the War Room today as well, and On3 and VolQuest.com, that if Tennessee were docked 25 to 30 scholarships, just the way this would work, kind of walk us through, if you will, the procedure of if it's just scholarships, which I feel like a lot of Tennessee fans, certainly that's the better alternative than a postseason ban. How would this work over the next 2-3 seasons for Tennessee football?
Well, whatever that's released, whenever the punishment's announced, it won't be surprising if they say, to make it look really bad, Tennessee was docked, 25 or 30 scholarships. And the first reaction from fans is, wait a minute, we're going to have 50 players to go play football? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And that's not how it works, okay? You're docking the scholarships over a period of time, okay, however long the probation period is, if it's 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. And it's also important to note that Tennessee, heading into this year, not counting this year, heading into this year, has already self-imposed 16 scholarship reductions. So let's say you get a 4-year probationary period and you get 25 scholarship reductions. Okay, between now and the end of that 4 years, Tennessee would have to do 9 more scholarship reductions. So the bottom line is it's not ideal, but Tennessee's not going to line up and play with 75 scholarship players. They're not going to be crippled. Nobody's crippling anybody like that. And I just think that's important to note for fans, because when they see whatever the number is, whenever all this comes out, the first reaction is going to be that they're taking away 30 immediately or 25 or whatever that number is, and you think your program's crippled. You're like, hey, we're SMU. That's not how this works. And so Tennessee has had basically a 30-month plan to try to anticipate some of these things and to try to put themselves in a position to start getting through some of it. which is why they self-imposed many of the things they self-imposed, including some recruiting restrictions they put on themselves to help navigate these waters. What Tennessee did not do, and what they have fought from the get-go, is a postseason ban. And Tennessee's feeling on that is that you're not supposed to. The NCAA has said we're not going to punish players who weren't involved. None of the players on this team left were involved. That's why they didn't punish them, and they went ahead and went to the Music City Bowl 2 years ago, and obviously played in the Orange Bowl last year. And that's what Tennessee's fighting. I mean, there's going to be a fine. There's going to be a financial fine come. It'll be a hefty fine. I think it'll be in the high seven figures that Tennessee will have to pay over a period of time. But Tennessee is more okay with that. They don't want that, but they're much more okay with that than current players being punished who had nothing to do with any of this, and a current staff of coaches and administrators who had nothing to do with what happened when Jeremy Pruitt was here.
On the other side of this ruling, that's where I want to go now, is what about the assistant coaches and Jeremy Pruitt? What do you think their punishments will be or should be, I guess, after this ruling?
Well, that's a great question, and obviously several of those guys have already taken a deal, right? Drew Hughes, who was an administrator, has taken a deal. Brian Niedermeyer has taken his deal from the NCAA already to try to get moving forward. Derek Ansley has not, so he would get punished. Now, Ansley has no desire to be back in the college game, so I don't think Derek Ansley gives two rats for it's what his NCAA punishment is, because I think he feels like the NFL is a better fit for him. He's obviously in a situation in L.A. that he's now a coordinator. He's making good money. He feels good. I mean, he left basically in the middle of the night and said, y'all, don't worry about paying me no buyout monies. I'm not going to fight for any of that. I'm out of here. And he packed up and left. So I don't think it matters to him. Jeremy Pruitt is the one, and the question is, what kind of show calls does Jeremy Pruitt get? Now, Pruitt's people obviously have some optimism based on the fact that Will Wade was not hit crippling. And a lot of people thought Will Wade was going to get crippled with the show calls, and he didn't. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt's name is basically involved in 18 level 1 violations. Which tells you, that you think he's going to get a pretty hefty show cause, to not be back in college ball in any time in the immediate future. But you never really know how the NCAA rules. Just like we don't think Tennessee is going to get a postseason ban, but Oklahoma State basketball didn't think they were going to get a postseason ban, Ramon, when they got theirs out of the blue. Yeah. And a bunch of guys were in the 8th grade when the penalties took place at Oklahoma State. They didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see. If Tennessee gets a ruling they're comfortable with, they'll move on. If not, there's an appeal process. The only thing Tennessee's going to appeal, in my opinion, would be if there is a postseason ban of some kind. They will fight that, and they will appeal that to the highest court they can appeal it to if that were to come out.
Brent, SEC Media Days next week, and one of the players comment I'm fascinated by, but I respect the heck out of him as a young guy, is Amari Thomas, man. I see in the War Room write-up, you say, it's been asked of him to be more vocal. One, having a name like Big O, like that in itself lets you know the respect factor that he has, but what has he been to this team and his journey to this point now?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who does everything the right way. Okay, he's always on time. He always does everything he's supposed to do. So he's a very much lead by example kind of guy. What Rodney Garner wants is Rodney Garner is looking for somebody to help him stick a boot in somebody's rear end if they have to. That's not Big O's biggest nature, right? Like, I don't want to call him a teddy bear because he's intense on the field, but he is always smiling, shaking your hand, talking to any kid that walks by him, anybody in the complex, whether it's an administrator or fellow student athlete, he's always got time for him. I mean, he's just a super nice guy. And so his challenge and what Rodney Garner has challenged him with is, to be a leader, you can't always be the nicest guy. You have to sometimes get after people if you need to. And that's been something that they have worked on with Big O, and I think he's gotten somewhat better at it. I don't think it's his most comfortable nature to bark at one of his teammates or to really crawl up in a guy, but he's a better leader vocally, He's always been a great leader by example, and he is a great representative of the University of Tennessee. Great family. Grandmother's the sweetest lady you'll ever meet. He took the administrators, they were school teachers and involved in education for a long time, and just a guy who was really raised the right way, and it shows in the way he carries himself.
Brent,
I think that.
I would like to get your just opinion, since you've seen a lot of SEC media days. You know, they've been going on for a long time. Like, what do you think about the SEC media days? Just the week of, you know, it's kind of for us, obviously, but do you feel like there's anything significant that we actually get out of these types of things now?
No, I don't, and that's not a knock on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you talk about 20 years ago when you covered this thing, 25 years ago when you covered it, there were a handful of sports talk shows going on, but Nashville didn't have an all-sports station at that point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knoxville didn't have one or two or three or however many they've got in Knoxville now. So there's so much discussion of football year-round that it's not the kickoff that it used to be.
Yep.
You know, it used to be this big, all right, football's here. Well, football never stops, you know? And so everybody, I've always joked, you know, wouldn't you love to have a coach go to the podium and just say, we had the worst offseason I've ever seen a football team have.
Yeah.
We were terrible. We put in no effort. We've weaker. We've not gotten faster. We're soft. We're this. But instead, we're the best summer we've ever had. We have great leadership. We have a great football team. Our strength coach and everybody does a great job. If you've had coaching changes on your staff, it's good to get fresh blood. If you don't, it's great to have continuity. And it's a bit of a PR spin, you know, anymore. So I don't think there's great news in it, but it does get everybody started, I guess, a little bit with football. So it's not a bad thing. It's not the news value that it once had.
Off the gridiron and onto the hard court here, and we're talking about Chris Ledlum, and decided to enter back into the NCAA transfer portal. I think that surprised us here. It's surprised a lot of people. What can you tell us a little bit more about maybe why he did this?
Well, it surprised the Tennessee coaching staff as much as it surprised anybody else out there. Chris went to Coach Barnes Wednesday morning and told him he wanted to get back closer to home and was heading out. Already had his plane ticket bought. There was no talking out of it, and he was gone. Why? You know, I think he's going to end up at St. John's, which is closer to home. So maybe he did have some homesickness. I think the other thing, too, and I don't think it was intentional, but I think Chris Ledlum felt like when he came in, one of the spots he was going to take and the minutes he was going to take was the minutes vacated by Josiah Jordan-James' departure. You know, Tennessee likes to play small ball. They like to play with James at the 4. So Ledlum thought he would play a lot of those minutes at the 4 and would get, you know, 25 minutes a game, 28 minutes a game. Then all of a sudden, here's this Josiah Jordan-James, who's been the face of the program for the last 4 years, back. He's back at practice. He knows everything that's going on. Anytime that the coaching staff needs to show newcomers what to do, what do they do? Get out here, Josiah, and show everybody what it is. And I think Chris Ledlum went, you know what? I'm not going to get nearly as many minutes here as I thought I was going to get. And I think as a result of that, he had the opportunity to use his grad transfer waiver so he could transfer a second time, and has decided to head elsewhere. And I think it's going to ultimately end up being St. John's, which was the other finalists along with Indiana for him, you know, when he decided to transfer from Harvard. So my guess is he's more comfortable closer to home. I think he feels like his playing time is going to be better elsewhere than it would have been at Tennessee.
Brent Hubbs, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Brent, we have an audience question from Grant R. in Maryville, Tennessee.
No, I'm against answering anything. He is blacklisted. He is banned, so we're not going to take that question.
Oh, perfect. Because hypothetically, if I were to ask this question, I would say his submission was, did SEC Media Days 25 years ago used to be in black and white like the Andy Griffith Show was?
Yes, it was. It was like when the movie company came to town and they were going to cut down the old oak tree in the middle. Now Ramon has no idea what I'm talking about. But when the mayor's daughter was going to sing
right before they cut down the old oak tree. That's exactly how SEC Media Days felt 25 years ago.
Of course, that's Grant Ramey for those of you who are unfamiliar, but a friend of the show and VolQuest.com basketball writer. But Brent, it is funny. We actually had Andy Staples on from On3 yesterday, and I think we are going to commission an oral history of the 2004 SEC Media Days for the 20th anniversary next year, between Philip Fulmer and Subpoena Gate that was going on at the time, and then Nick Saban's dog getting loose in the Winfrey Hotel in Hoover. It's amazing that those two things were allowed to happen in the same year at SEC Media Days.
Well, and it's amazing that Kayla asked me, what do you make of SEC Media Days? And that's the highlight.
Yes.
A running dog, a subpoena, and a voice box, where Philip Fulmer is talking into a voice box into a large room because he wasn't allowed to come the next year, I guess. Yeah, bizarre times. Only in the SEC does such things happen.
Yep.
So it is what it is with SEC Media Days. We're all excited it's in Nashville because, A, we love Nashville, and B, we love Nashville because it's really close.
Yes,
True.
this is very true.
Makes
Absolutely.
it better.
We're selfish.
Yeah, that's
Fair.
okay, right?
Well, we love that we can walk over and be there too. So certainly we're with you. Well, Brent, we'll certainly connect next week. Hope to see you at the circus that is SEC Media Days, and hopefully, we've been saying it now for 2 straight SEC Media Days. Hopefully we will have NCAA penalties and can put this behind us. And Brent, it does kind of feel like the end of an era in a little bit, right? That, Tennessee is with Danny White, Donnie Plowman, much more, what's the word? Run like adults, maybe is the way to put it. That maybe this is one of the last times in a while we'll be on pins and needles at Media Days about NCAA penalties.
Well, what's crazy is, we're talking about this is a 30-month deal.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at now. And so it does feel like a lifetime, of sitting around waiting, when's it coming? And then all of a sudden, oh, wait, they're going to go to hearing. And then they have the hearing in Cincinnati. Oh, wait, it's another 6 to 8 weeks. No, we're going to turn that into 90 days. And it's just one of those deals where everybody at Tennessee is looking for closure, and they're hoping they get that closure as early as this afternoon. So we'll see what happens. We'll be following it closely all day today and certainly early next week at VolQuest, and we'll have all the very latest that we can have as this thing hopefully goes to a close sooner rather than later.
No doubt.
VolQuest.com, that's where you need to be. On 3, covering Tennessee athletics. He is Brent Hubbs with us at 7:20 here on Fridays. Great stuff as always, Brent. We will see you next week.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you guys Thursday.
Absolutely.
Brent.
Sounds great. There's Brent Hubbs with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. And big news that may come out today. We'll see. NCAA loves themselves a Friday news dump.
Oh, my God.
Just
That's
like the
their
NFL.
thing.
Yep. Coming up, Phillip Rivers is at it again. It's about the most simple way I can put it. Coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
If you have a wet basement or crawl space, it's time to call United Structural Systems. We've all heard about these guys for a long time, and for good reasons. They've served Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they've helped thousands of satisfied residential customers in that time. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. And if you have a wet basement or crawl space, you don't have to put up with that. Water intrusion and moisture could give you all sorts of problems down the road, and you want to get this fixed. It could be because you have poor drainage or surface water flooding over the walls, or underwater pressure forcing water into the basement. It could be a plumbing leak. You just don't know. But the team at United Structural Systems will find out why you have a wet basement or crawl space, and we'll give you a plan to fix it. And if you do decide to move forward, you don't have to pay a dime until the work is done and you are satisfied. So get that free estimate from the people I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them 615-492-2226. That's 615-492-2226.
And we're back on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors here on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up at 8 o'clock, it is the end of an era in the Meadowlands for a very specific reason. Talk about that at halftime of the show. 615-737-1045, how you join in on the discussion with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. So Phillip Rivers is at it again, guys. He is going to have his 10th child.
Oh,
Much more importantly, I should say his wife is going to have their 10th child.
Thank you.
please.
That's one thing that always fascinated me about Phillip Rivers is I've never been a big fan of his, right?
Yeah.
But I'll give the man credit. I mean, at least like he's also balanced doing the family thing and keeping track of 10 kids. I know his wife probably does majority of the work, but my goodness, I could not imagine like 10 kids.
I couldn't either.
10 kids. And I think I was telling you guys out the break, I think Sean Alexander is the only other NFL player that I think he's got 12 by the same same lady.
Spouse, yes. Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
My goodness.
Phillip, give it a rest, bro. We get it. You go peak athlete, okay? We understand that. You competed at a high level. This isn't a race I don't think many people are involved in. Like, I legitimately don't think it's a race that many people are involved. I understand that you have the funds to support this and get it all, make sure every kid has a scholarship. We get it. Bro, there's no reason to prove anything to me. I know you're the man. Yeah. I know you're capable of doing certain things, Phillip. Give that lady a rest.
Does he have his own city now? Like, do they own their own little city?
Oh, he's coaching at a high school. Pretty much is Phillip River High School right now.
St. Michael Catholic in Fairhope,
there
Alabama.
You go, with all the kids playing.
Enrollment plus 10.
Yeah.
So Phillip Rivers and his wife Tiffany have kids ranging from age. Pull buddy's nerfed. Age 4 to 21.
Oh my!
You got a 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, no.
Stop.
No, I'm not. 4 to 21.
Legal to drink, can barely walk.
So both Phillip Rivers' mom and dad come from families of 9 kids.
Yeah.
So congrats, Phillip. You win.
There
He
you
had
go.
to one up his
Phillip
pops.
won.
I don't know if you won or you lost, but
I'm the captain now.
you won. We win because when we say Phillip Rivers' name, Buck Rising appears in the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline.
Ooh.
Buck, this worked out
Buck's
perfectly.
on?
Good morning.
Hi, Buck.
It's just like Beetlejuice. You say Rivers' name 3 times, and I appear.
Well, except unlike that. Did you hear what happened with Beetlejuice on this show the other day?
Oh, God.
No, enlighten me.
Ramon thought he was
good.
dead.
No.
It was me.
It was
No,
Robert
Bert
thought he was
thought he
dead.
was
That's
dead.
on
Thought he
me.
was
That's a
dead.
demerit on me. Robert thought he was dead and tried to kill Beetlejuice.
Well, the good thing is Buck probably thinks we're talking about the fictional character and not the Howard Stern character.
True.
I did think you were talking about a fictional character because I was going to point out he's already dead, so you win.
No, this is the human being Beetlejuice that he killed off. It wasn't me this time, Buck. It wasn't me, my brother.
Stay strong. Well, I don't mean to crash the party. I just wanted to call in. I was listening on my way home this morning, and I want to call in and say thank you to you guys and to your listeners and express my concern / surprise that Bert arrived on time for work this morning. And to thank everybody who showed up last night. It was a really, really cool time and for a great cause. And I appreciate everything that y'all did to help make it happen.
Absolutely. Glad to hear it
Thank
went
you,
well.
Buck. Yeah, it looked
glad to
fun.
hear that Ron Slave putting shots in front of Robert Walsh's face did not preclude him from being here on time.
Ramon, explain to me why he insists on, lukewarm vodka.
Yeah.
It's 10:30. Everybody's starting to wind down, and everybody, the things are starting to peter out. And then all of a sudden, he starts screaming into a microphone.
Yeah.
Lukewarm vodka shots for everybody. He has to be stopped.
But if you've ever known him and you know him well now, okay, I'm glad you've had one of many outings with Ron Slay, okay? Because can you imagine him in his late 20s, early 30s on a college campus? Because I can. And let me tell you this. I had to sacrifice working out in the steam room and also potentially throwing up so that I can survive nights with Ron Slay, okay? So, Buck, you are officially in the inner circle now is all I can tell you. If he takes over your event, man, you're welcome.
Well, and I can confirm that I did throw up this morning.
Yeah. You said listening to us on your drive home, so I picked up that little detail.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of trying to, instead of taking the $20 charge to cancel my workout, I decided to gut it out, and it was ill-advised. So,
Oh, God.
everybody who went into the gym bathroom suffered the aftermath of Ron Slay's vodka shots. Apologies.
Well, and the only thing he would tell you is the straight vodka. It keeps the calories down instead of mixing, drinks and stuff. So, Buck, I wish I had a real answer for you. It's just ride that train when Ron Slay's on the tracks, okay?
There you go.
The train is very much off the tracks, and as a result, I will not be appearing for my radio show today. Good night, and God bless.
Oh, there it is.
Buck Rising, ladies and
There
gentlemen.
it is. Does that
Buck
mean we
Rising.
have to stay?
Hey, your mom. Well, that was his response.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I love that drop. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Who's hosting today? Dr. Lucas? Is Dr. Lucas in today?
So, Dr. Lucas.
Paging Dr. Lucas.
Yeah, Robert, who is hosting for Buck today? Buck is not doing his show.
It is Lucas.
Oh,
It
okay.
is.
Dr.
okay.
Luke, the good doctor is in today.
The good
Nice.
doctor is in, man. I will say his event looked fun. I got to
Yeah.
give credit
Yeah.
to all you guys that are doing events. Like, that's a lot of pressure. I'm
lot
just
of
going to throw
work.
that out there. There's a lot of pressure and work from trying to sell tickets or get venues and just be a hostess with the most that cannot actually bowl well. Because, Buck, we heard about that, too.
Yeah.
We heard about your bad bowling last night.
That's okay. You put on a
Yeah.
good event.
I hate
Maybe
that I had to miss it.
I
Looked
know.
really cool.
It did.
It did.
This morning hour stuff.
I know. It is what it is, though. I'm not missing many more events.
I'm with you.
Got to have the barbecue first, but
These,
We do gotta have the barbecue, and I got a new smoker too.
oh, did you?
there we go.
Yeah.
You
These
must have it all now.
2 game weeks of when there's a soccer game Wednesday and Saturday. A little bit of a quick turnaround. We were
Yep.
Yeah.
working through last night. I could also, so I know well now, the older I get, of exactly how I feel when I'm starting to get sick. And I successfully fought it off yesterday.
Did you?
I was glad to wake up this morning and I had like a tiny bit of a cough. And if it's not cold outside and you have a cough, it's like, okay, all right, got to bunker down here.
Something's going
Yeah.
on.
Let's grab a hot toddy, some, spiced tea, and go to bed at 8:30.
Yeah. The
Sounds
beauty
about
of
right.
getting old. At least you know those things.
I used to make fun of people that were like, "Oh, my neck hurts. I don't know how I did this. My back hurts." And now that happens to me all of the time. I would just have random aches and pains, and my body is failing me at
know.
short
Man.
of 30 years old.
I'll get to this point now where I used to be, you would do a workout and you'd be sore the next day. Like, okay,
Right.
you expect that.
Mm-hmm.
You
I will
like
now
that
be
kinda.
sore for a week because of one workout and be like, this isn't how this is supposed to go.
You do
Like
abs
it's-
once and
Yeah, I
think
know.
you're going to sneeze and poo yourself.
Like it's time for me to
Exactly.
do leg day again. And it's like, dang it, I'm still sore from the first one. It's fine.
I went running the other day, and I usually do
Why?
well. I did. I almost called you. I almost FaceTimed Will while
Was
I was
someone
running.
chasing you?
Terrible
What?
No.
idea.
It's just, they just working out, man. I ran like 5 hills in this
I
industrial
thought you were going
park.
to say 5 miles.
No, I did 2.5 miles.
Okay.
And
The
I-
hills are.
I incorporated it
Go
with
off,
this
King.
hill. Like I ran up like 4 or 5 times.
Are you
whatever
doing
it
the
was.
Derrick Henry thing?
I thought I was Derrick for a
Right?
little bit. My speed wasn't there though.
Okay.
Because
too
as
slow.
soon as I got to like the third run
Peak or
sprint
whatever, yeah.
up the hill, like I had this clenching feeling like in my ribs, and I've never had that happen before. I was like, this is
cramp.
Side ache.
not what, and I drank plenty of water too. I was ready. I
You're
was
not
like,
Derrick Henry.
I'm not
So,
Derrick Henry.
The preparation
Batman.
we will need when training camp starts. I started doing this last training camp.
Yep.
Is it H?
Could have a free plug. What?
You said the preparation we'll need.
Oh
So
my
is it H?
You might need a little of that too.
Will's too young to know what prep.
I don't know.
Oh, preparation H. No, forget
What does
it.
it mean?
It's a joke for the older volunteers.
Oh God, we're gonna get in trouble, Bert. Remember?
Yeah,
They're gonna call it.
We already did the Andy Griffith show. Is it that old too? Or
I mean,
whatever?
it's
A lot of
we'll
people
talk
like
about it.
that
It's
show.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's cool, Will.
Anyway, just whoosh. Last year I would take a liquid IV every morning before training camp.
Oh, for real?
From where? You had your own? Oh,
Liquid IV is the powder.
The powder. Yeah.
It's like electrolytes and
Yeah.
it's like drinking 4 Gatorades at once.
I'll be doing
I
that.
thought you was going to one of those venues.
So did
to
I.
get it done.
No.
I was like, dang, he is fancy.
That's what I was thinking. Like, dang, bro, you really are all
Fancy.
about health.
No, y'all know I don't really like. I can have like a couple drinks on like a Thursday night and it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a. Yeah, I know. I'll get there, but
Dun, dun, dun.
I've like never had a hangover.
You've never
Oh.
had a hangover?
Maybe one time. But like it doesn't happen. I know. I know.
We're going to have to get you tore up.
I know. I was like, you haven't drank enough.
Like, bro, I have
don't
not
know.
drank enough. I've only blacked out once, though, and I'm proud of that.
When knowing your limits goes right.
Right?
Will Bowling. Put that in the intros. All right. Well, coming up, it's the end of an era in the Meadowlands. Something that is happening at MetLife Stadium that I'm sick about. Genuinely sick about. Plus, we got Ben Brown of Pro Football Focus coming up at 8:20. Vegas thinks DeAndre Hopkins will be a Titan. Is that significant from his perspective as Pro Football Focus's betting analyst? We'll get the latest on that coming up in hour number 3 on deck on a Friday that is flying by right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It ain't 6 o'clock. Where the hell am I at? It's 8 o'clock. What's going on from the 104.5 The Zone Studios? I'm Robert Walsh. The Jets and defensive tackle Quinnen Williams have agreed to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, locking him up through 2027. The deal makes Williams the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL, right behind Aaron Donald. Quinnen received $2 million more than recently extended Jeffrey Simmons. Quinnen Williams is now the first Jets player selected in round 1 to sign a second contract with the organization since Muhammad Wilkerson, whom they picked in 2011. And former NFL standout quarterback Phillip Rivers announced that he and his wife are expecting their 10th child. Once that baby pops out, Phillip Rivers is playing with a full NFL offense, as long as he's playing quarterback. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show on our final show of the week. Welcome into Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Ben Brown of PFF joins us in 20 minutes. Ben Arthur from Fox Sports at 9:20. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045 with the whole crew present and accounted for. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, Will Bowling. And yes, it is Friday, and we're acting like it.
Hey, work 9 to 5, and we gonna party. Yeah, we do.
Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Is it still Woo Girl season around here too?
It's always Woo Girl season here.
Just like how Brent Hubbs says, football season never stops.
Yeah.
On Thursdays and Fridays in Nashville, Tennessee, Woo Girl season never ends.
Never ends.
Never
All
ends.
right, then.
They need to extend the Farmer's Almanac to tell us. Like, have a section of the Farmer's Almanac that's like, now look, the Woo Girls are going to be pretty heavy January through March.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little lull in the season. Come June, they'll be right back down there filling up your pedal taverns. Like, honestly, I think I'm going to do a research policy on that. I'm going to do a whole scientific research thing, and I'll get back to y'all.
This
You
is
should.
your this is your dissertation, Robert Walsh.
You can call me doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Lucas and Dr. Walsh.
Paige and Dr.
Look
Lucas.
at that. You've had some ideas rolling here lately, Bert.
Yeah,
I'm
Bert.
telling you,
telling you.
I can't bring anything to fruition. Very few things. Cheyenne says I am an expert idea guy.
Yeah.
But I'm very, I am not good at finishing anything I start. There is a half hung up Ring doorbell that I still got to get to.
Oh, man.
I ran out of weed eater string, so my yard is mowed, but my edges aren't edged.
Ooh.
I'm very good at starting things, but I'm not
Can't
that good at finishing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why I cut myself.
That's what
Whoops, he
you
made me
did.
say it.
Like
Are
the
you cut off again?
104.5?
The Zone.
That's right.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever not finished The Zone?
Ooh, I haven't. I haven't done that yet.
There's a
The
I'm-
challenge.
next frontier for you is like a Friday at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I think
Just
that's
don't say the zone. And then
Yeah.
Monday morning, when you start your first update, you just go, the zone.
Zone.
It is
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
There we
Welcome
go.
for the 104.5 The Zone studio.
we're gonna do it. That might be do it.
That might be do it. That might be
I
do
laugh
it.
every time I hear that too. I was talking to somebody this weekend. I was like, man, that actually might be doing it if we go ahead and make that happen.
No
like,
lie.
what?
At the bowling event, I was walking past some people, and they were like, "Oh, what do you want to do after this? You trying to go to Waffle House?" And the dude responded with, "That might be doing."
No, we didn't.
And I turned expecting it to be Ron
What?
Slay, and it
Yes.
was just another bowling patron.
Look at
So
that.
it is sweeping the nation.
Look at the brain on the bowling page.
Yeah.
It might be doing,
That's
baby.
awesome.
That's catching on there, Moan. You better
Might as well
better
put
get
it on
your
the shirt.
fingerprints
Get
on
a
that
trademark,
now.
yeah.
Might be do it. I'm here for it. John.
Start a
That's
new
fantastic.
Twitter. That could be your name.
It's so
Might be
wrong.
That's fantastic.
It's so wrong. Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I love
I
that
thought
drop.
every time. It sounds like Buck every
It
single
does.
time.
Well, it is
Every
Buck.
single time. I know, but it's like
Like
he's
live.
right back there.
Yeah.
It is Buck. That was an athlete moment right there.
That was
an
AI.
athlete moment. That was an
1045 The
athlete
Zone
So,
AI.
AI.
Buck Rising.
moment.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
That was fair right there.
615-737-1045. How you jump in.
I love that.
Shadows.
Man, I'm so upset. We got to stop playing by his rules, y'all.
Talk to me.
Where he can throw this big party on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he does not have to deal with the ramifications
Yeah.
of coming to work. That he is off today. He has left Lucas in charge of the entire show, which is
Yeah.
great because now Lucas can further entrench himself as the true and rightful host of that show.
The rightful heir to the throne.
Right? He is the eldest boy.
The king of the north.
So, but Buck gets to lounge about and
Yeah.
go to wherever he works out at and hang out in his yard and do whatever Buck does by himself. Like I can only imagine he's probably got cucumbers over his eyes right now
Probably.
with a steamed
An
towel,
avocado mask.
right? And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I feel like he's the golden child.
Because we all showed up for my event the next morning.
Yep.
And my event was on a Tuesday.
Oh, didn't we?
Club was
Yeah.
going up on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
We were here on a Wednesday
Here
morning.
we were.
Making it happen. And you know what?
Oh, and by the way, we were here at what time?
So, before
6 a.m.
6.
Couldn't be
Before
us.
6.
Couldn't be us.
Couldn't be me slacking like
Nah.
this. Absolutely not, man.
We should
Come on.
plan an event for the station and do it Friday at noon.
Yeah, perfect.
Our weekend has started.
Perfect.
Everyone else is still
Love
working at the station. We're going to plan a lunch event on a Friday at noon that only benefits Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Love it.
Plus Robert Wall.
Makes so much sense, y'all.
I'm gonna bring my
Y'all
above
in?
ground pool to the parking lot.
Yeah, I swear. You bringing what?
I'm gonna bring my pool to the parking lot. We can have a pool party.
And you know
Okay.
what? I'll come pick us up in the van.
Oh,
Okay.
the Sprinter!
Yes.
Can we do like those Nashville tour woo girls that
Yes.
were in like the cool van?
Abso-friggin-lutely.
We could hire a driver
Yeah.
to just drive us around in Ramon's van.
Don't hype me up, okay? I am into this, just so you know. And then, of course, I hit the button, the door slides open. You guys just hop out like your Chief Keef
Let's
at
do
BET
that.
Music
That's
Awards.
fantastic.
Perfect.
I'm so serious right now. Y'all don't even understand. Like, there's enough room for a big cooler in the
The
back.
RK Dub tour.
And there's drink holders in there. We can recline seats and bang out music. What y'all
Yeah.
want to do?
Yeah.
We can have like a sleepover, but the whole time we have to prank call Buck's show
Oh, I love prank calling.
as different people.
I used to do that for hours.
I did prank calling too. You had phone books.
Man,
It
that
was
was back
so
in the day.
fun.
That is one thing that is spans all generations. Like I feel like
Really?
there were telephone cans with string attached that were, let's prank call somebody and throw a telephone, throw a soup can with a string attached into their room.
Is
back in
your
the
meat
1800s.
cooling device running? Then you better go catch it. I can see you.
I don't know what the equivalent of star 67 was back then. Maybe you just,
I wonder
Oh.
if kids still prank call
Okay.
because now you can
Yeah,
see
that's true.
everything.
That's a great
the
idea.
kids still prank call. Let us know. 615-737.
Do they still
I
prank?
hope they do.
I hope
Because
so.
you can block your number still.
If you guys
On your
don't
phone.
get to, you can call up right now and prank call us as long
Perfect.
as you don't say something dirty on the air.
Yeah, please
Okay.
don't do that.
I don't,
Yeah, Will's like,
You can prank call Bert.
Maybe
just
Micah
do
will.
Bert.
Our
Yeah.
friend Micah.
Micah. Yeah, Micah's he definitely
young.
calls in. He's young, definitely.
Mike is one of the cool kids. For
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's savvy enough to do that. Instead, these days they just get what is the secondary phone line you can get, like Google Plus or something like that. Does WhatsApp
Oh, that
have
is
phone
far
numbers?
beyond my knowledge.
This is, I don't see any scenario of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just
I
checking.
got two
I have no idea.
phones.
You got 2 phones. I was an era in which I had 2 phones.
Y'all, I feel like all you guys have 2 phones.
It was
Buck
an
does
era.
have 2 phones.
Does he?
Does he really?
It is so pretentious. Every time he's
Why?
like, because I'll text him and he'll go, "Oh, I don't know which phone you texted." I'm like, "Oh, come on, dude, come on."
You know you can get the 2 numbers on one phone though.
I don't
I
even
think he likes
understand
the
that.
separation.
Separation.
See, when I had a work phone, I could not stand carrying both of those bricks around.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It was like, just let me do everything on this phone. I can't.
Man, what's the name?
much.
The Sprint and took me through it. No, Nextel took me through it. I just had to have the chirp. I had to have the chirp phone.
Wait,
I had to, y'all.
what is a chirp?
Do you remember the big chirp phone, the Nextel phone? Beep, beep. Those sounds right there. Oh my gosh, they used to be so loud in the classrooms and stuff.
Okay.
Like the
I remember those.
speaker on those were so freaking loud. Like you can play anthems. Like you can host a house party with the speaker that was on a Nextel chirp phone. You hear me? And I think it was meant for like construction sites and stuff like that. It was like a loud chirp. It was made of metal, but the phones were like so cool, and everybody on campus had a Nextel chirp. And I got one while also having a separate phone too. I was so young and dumb.
There was a time too. I remember so well when the first iPhone came out, and it had to be on AT&T, and then it was like a big deal when you can get an iPhone other places too. But then that was like BlackBerry territory. Like the BlackBerry was before the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So be like,
Yeah, it
hey, like,
was.
Dad, can I take your BlackBerry and play games on your BlackBerry? Like,
Those
could you
were
imagine
cool.
saying that now?
No, I couldn't
I
imagine.
know.
Those Blackberries were
Put blackberries
awesome.
in a smoothie this morning. Well, that's about it.
Because
Yeah.
I had the BlackBerry Palm Pilot. I've had every phone
The Palm one
imaginable.
was the one that came up, right? Like it slid up.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did slide up. I didn't have the Sidekick. That's the one that I wanted, but T-Mobile didn't function in my hometown, and it was bad service in Knoxville at the time. But it was such a cool phone to have. You either had the Sidekick or you had an iPhone or Nextel. Chirp.
Okay.
Crazy.
So I have a
Back
complaint
era.
in the NFL. The Giants have announced that they will display their logo at midfield when playing at home this season at MetLife Stadium after years of having the NFL logo at midfield. People used to respect the shield.
Used to.
Please respect the shield.
The Panthers also used it. They've since changed it. David Tepper came in
Unbelievable.
and changed it to the Panthers logo.
Oh, really?
No longer the shield.
Fascinating.
I'm just excited to see who steps on it from the opposing team and the fight that they can get into and what will come out of that. Because we all know the Titans did that with the Ravens.
Oh, yeah,
Bert,
definitely.
what'd you feel about that? I guess we got it. What?
But just in general, though, I actually like the idea of them putting logos in the middle of it.
Really?
Yes, I do. I absolutely like it because I kind of want to see.
What are you showing me?
There was a text thread. We just got some news. I'm spreading to each other.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is this: I enjoyed that the Jets and the Giants have to go through because that means a field people get jobs too. That's one thing turf does take away somewhat is the idea that they don't do as much work. It's like. So when you really make it a whole lot cheaper over time, then you kind of let people go. I was real cool with the field people in Pittsburgh, though. Like I used to talk grass with them all the time. You get it? Talking grass with them.
I hear it. That's a lot. I feel like though, like the logos in the middle, I like it too. It's always going to open up a little more like controversy of like, okay, if the other team does have a little bit of a moment or accidentally, I feel like then it just goes to a whole nother level.
Yes, definitely.
I'm kind of here for that too.
I'm here for that too, Kayla. But it is what it is, though, man. You don't like it, though, Will?
No, I'm just being sarcastic.
Oh, okay, I was about to say.
What's the conversion rate on teams getting mad about stepping on your logo versus the NFL logo? Like, will Giants players now get mad that
Right.
it, is being stepped on?
What happens is this, though. The logo thing, stepping on it is one thing because you warm up all pregame. And
Okay, so
I know
that
guys,
doesn't count.
You don't, but it's the malice in which the closer you get to the game, the more concentrated you get in on what the opposing team is doing. Like, we used to look and watch the punters like, man, why would he punt the ball down here this way? Like, we're running our pregame drills. Like, what are you doing? Like, it would be small stuff. I tell you that makes you go insane about competing with, like, where you stand on the field. Why are y'all looking at us? And that's the portion of like the logo situation becomes personal. Like the Titans-Ravens situation that they had of jumping on the logo.
That was intense.
That was intense. And let's not forget either Harbaugh and Vrabels would meet up too. That gets some real serious stuff going on, man. But to me, all of that stuff is a part of the game. I love the idea that you can really be emotional, show it, and it be okay. And on top of that, you got to go act on it too. So, yeah, put the New York Jets and Giants
Yeah.
logos in the middle of the
Put it
field.
there.
They dislike each other, from my understanding. The Giants are always the big boys that rule the city, and now the Jets is right behind that. Like, I love that rivalry. And what's even better is the fact that New Yorkers also say you're not a New York team because everything you do is in New Jersey. I think that's always fascinating.
Whenever that happens, I just kind of roll my eyes.
You roll
I
your
get
eyes.
it. I get it, but it's still like it's New York.
It still is New York, definitely.
615-737-1045. And coming up, Ben Brown of Pro Football Focus joins us, betting analyst for PFF, telling us the significance of DeAndre Hopkins' betting market moving significantly towards the Titans. And is there more faith in Indy or Houston as far as value goes in the AFC South? Ben Brown of PFF on the other side. It is Ramon, Kalen, Will, 104.5 The Zone. Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. And
breaking Vols news on 104.5 The Zone.
It is now official. The NCAA will hold a Zoom at noon today. Tennessee will learn its NCAA penalties today. At last, a 30-month wait is over. Tennessee Vols football, Josh Heupel, Danny White, and Chancellor Donde Plowman will see what the fruits of their labor were in their marathon meeting in Cincinnati. The Vols will get scholarship reductions or fines or maybe a postseason ban. No word on what the penalties are. That will come later in the middle of today. But it is official that the NCAA will tell Tennessee its penalties in football today. So we pivot a little bit here in hour 3 with this breaking news that we discussed with Brent Hubbs, and this quickly becoming the story of the day, not only in Nashville, but in the SEC and in the world of college football. How badly will the NCAA punish Tennessee for double-digit level 1 violations?
I'm hoping there's more money than it is actual, just directly affecting the players, coaches, and the team more than anything. I feel like more times than not, the money can be took care of. If it's scholarship over years, okay, if we're reduced 4 over the next few years, whatever the case may be, how long it's going to be and no postseason ban, it's a good place to be at. It's just you give the keys to the car to somebody that's not deserving of them or prove they're not deserving of it, because it seemed like in the search for him, he was the guy for the job, but clearly had no idea, man. That sucks for all the kids involved and the new staff and the university at this point.
Yeah, I think the best hope you have is, like you were saying, to have the fines. And I think what helps them is, again, you go back to the self-reporting and the way that they got out in front of it, which we've seen in the past. A lot of universities haven't done that. And then we've seen some stricter penalties. I think it's also different now with the NCAA, with how unhinged it has become. I don't think they're going to be giving any postseason bans. Again, this is just me giving the guess on this, but I do really think the self-reporting aspect helped a lot for the Vols.
Is this the most effective the NCAA is when it comes down to what they're doing? Yeah, what they're doing, right, Kayla?
Yeah.
Like, this is by far the most effective that they are, is handing down punishment and trying to regulate whatever they possibly can. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I get that. Jeremy Pruitt was wrong. Mm-hmm. He got caught. A lot of other teams do it. It is what it is at this point. But you can't run a university like it's your little league football team. Like, it actually is a business. It actually is people who will, be on the back end of some bad stuff because of this. Like, those assistant coaches don't want to be out of the game.
No.
I don't care if you do go to the NFL. Like, you still have that with you. Because if it doesn't work out in those leagues, or I feel like Niedermeyer is at a high school level.
Is he back
in high school? I think it's IMG.
Yeah. IMG.
Okay. He's at IMG. You
Brian
still
Niedermeyer.
have interactions with college coaches, and most people want to move up regardless of what they say. This kind of taints them because of bad oversight, probably starting with the head coach for allowing the culture to go. But if it's on part of the University of Tennessee, too, to kind of keep things within the navigational beacons, as we'll like to say from time to time, we got off the road a little bit. And that's exactly what it is. But I'm also glad, too, as a university, that we kind of went through this time around, Kayla, Will, listeners, and this is just me and where I was with this, because we all get pump faked and called into the tornado whirl spin of this coach is the greatest coming in because he was under Nick Saban or he was under Urban Meyer. Like, that's what we got out of Jeremy Pruitt was, oh, man, he's a great guru. And a lot of the times, you got to go through some madness like this with a guy like Jeremy Pruitt that brings a Josh Heupel around. Because to say anybody in this room was probably excited about Heupel, like overly excited, I don't think it would have been fair to say yes, that we were. But you see the optimism, you see the progression that he's actually had, and you're actually building the university the right way because, one, you have to because of the stuff you just went through, but two, because the guy wants to be there as it stands.
I mentioned it with Brent Hubbs, who was on with us, if you missed it, at 7:20, that it does feel like this is the end of an era of Tennessee athletics today. The fact that you're going into an SEC Media Days waiting for a hammer to drop from the NCAA because you made mistakes that the current administration is not going to make.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there are adults running Tennessee athletics.
Yeah.
It often did not feel that way over the last 15 years. And at times when you were there right after you left, Ramon, and Lane Kiffin comes in and Dave Hart, and you get the Lady Vols name change and you change it back. All the things that have led up to this point in Tennessee wandering through the wilderness for the past 15 years has now led them to a point where everyone in different levels of administration are actually pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case at Tennessee probably since the early days of Ramon Foster being a Tennessee Volunteer. So at this point, I think you trust Tennessee's leadership to fight tooth and nail if the NCAA steps over the line that we don't think they will step over. And if the NCAA gives Tennessee a postseason ban for their 18 Level 1 violations and for the Jeremy Pruitt era, Tennessee will lawyer up in a way that you have never seen a school lawyer up before. And the fact, to me, the image that I keep going back to was when Greg Sankey accompanied Danny White and Donnie Plowman into the Committee on Infractions meeting in Cincinnati a couple of months ago. Greg Sankey being the public face of Tennessee's pitch against the NCAA, I think speaks volumes here.
Yeah.
As someone who has been on that committee and has been through the NCAA's process on either side, it feels like the conference has Tennessee's back in case the NCAA, who's always a wild card in these situations, does something that we don't expect and gives the Vols a postseason ban.
Yeah, the SEC has to be on top because truthfully, it's the conference right now with the most power when it comes down to what exactly they're capable of. Like, look at the collective groups that they have. I know it's some Big Ten teams and Big 12 teams that are involved in that. Mm-hmm. Well, not Pac-12 anymore. But
USC for 1 year.
Yeah, I know, right? But you have those types of universities that have more power. Like, this is, to me, where I would say this, and it's just my personal opinion, the NCAA can't be judge, jury, and executioner when it comes down to these type of infractions moving forward. They don't hold the same fist that they used to, Kayla.
That's because it's been a mess, right? And we've just kind of said this. We've talked about it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, here and there, that the NCAA is not what it used to be, and it never was great. Like it's been a mess, but it finally took these conferences, the stronger conferences, to stand up and say, "Hey, look, we're going to just start doing things our way." And now the NCAA, this is really what they have to hold their hats on, is this very type of thing, is dishing out infractions. That's what they say. Oh yeah, here, NCAA's coming out with some news. We're holding Zoom today. We're going to look at us. Here we are. This is all we're known for now.
I know.
So I just hope again that they don't do anything that they don't need to do.
Yeah, like the people who was there is no longer gone. I think that is one of the worst parts of what they used to do anyway, is you commit and be excited to go to a university and actually have a shot to compete, and you fully can't because of those postseason bans and suspensions and stuff like that. They were handed down to the university, not necessarily the people that did it. And again, they're in the business of managing, and they did more managing the people they were employing than the actual people they should have been representing, and that's the players.
And dealing with things they should have been dealing with outside of those types of things, which they never did.
Again, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Tennessee will have to have something happen behind this. I just hope it's more money than it is actual taken away from the players and stuff. Yeah.
Man, the head always has to be on a swivel when it comes to Tennessee. And it feels like this might be the day where we go through a process like this for the last time, at least with football, for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know the way the NCAA tries to fight back things that it feels like shouldn't be happening. And you talk about the same week now that Tennessee has joined an association of 7 schools that have a collective association now.
Mm-hmm.
To try to create change from name, image, and likeness. Obviously, something like that isn't going to impact the ruling from the NCAA on what Jeremy Pruitt did, but Tennessee has made it clear that they are playing within the rules that Power 5 teams are playing within.
Yeah.
Those aren't always the NCAA's rules, but they are playing within the guidelines of what Power 5 college football is trending toward.
Yeah. And that's how it has to be moving forward, man, when you're a team trying to get back to the top. Like, I'm always looking at the recruiting and stuff like that to say, what is it going to take to be those types? You know what I'm saying? And it's got to be consistency and longevity, Will.
So if you missed it in the last hour, this was Brent Hubbs talking about what to expect when the NCAA gives its ruling on penalties for Tennessee football, and specifically what it would mean if scholarships are reduced. Brent walking us through the logistics of how this could work.
Whenever the punishment's announced, it won't be surprising if they say, to make it look really bad, Tennessee was docked, 25 or 30 scholarships. And the first reaction from fans is, wait a minute, we're going to have 50 players to go play football? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And that's not how it works, okay? You're docking the scholarships over a period of time, okay, however long the probation period is, if it's 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. And it's also important to note that Tennessee, heading into this year, not counting this year, heading into this year, has already self-imposed 16 scholarship reductions. So let's say you get a 4-year probationary period and you get 25 scholarship reductions. Okay, between now and the end of that 4 years, Tennessee would have to do 9 more scholarship reductions. So the bottom line is it's not ideal, but Tennessee's not going to line up and play with 75 scholarship players. They're not going to be crippled. Nobody's crippling anybody like that. And I just think that's important to note for fans, because when they see whatever the number is, whenever all this comes out, the first reaction is going to be that they're taking away 30 immediately or 25 or whatever that number is, and you think your program's crippled. You're like, hey, we're SMU. That's not how this works. And so Tennessee has had basically a 30-month plan to try to anticipate some of these things and to try to put themselves in a position to start getting through some of it, which is why they self-imposed many of the things they self-imposed, including some recruiting restrictions they put on themselves to help navigate these waters. What Tennessee did not do, and what they have fought from the get-go, is a postseason ban. And Tennessee's feeling on that is that you're not supposed to. The NCAA has said we're not going to punish players who weren't involved. None of the players on this team left were involved. That's why they didn't punish them, and they went ahead and went to the Music City Bowl 2 years ago, and obviously played in the Orange Bowl last year, and that's what Tennessee's fighting. I mean, there's going to be a fine. There's going to be a financial fine come. It'll be a hefty fine. I think it'll be in the high 7 figures that Tennessee will have to pay over a period of time. But Tennessee is more okay with that. They don't want that, but they're much more okay with that than current players being punished who had nothing to do with any of this, and a current staff of coaches and administrators who had nothing to do with what happened when Jeremy Pruitt was here.
So there you go. There's Brent Hubbs with us this morning on the show. That was an hour ago before this news broke officially that Tennessee will learn its NCAA penalties today. And just another word on the procedure of how this works. So the NCAA has let Tennessee and media know that this is coming today. That doesn't mean that media knows what the penalties are. So essentially, this is the NCAA's notice saying, all right, violations, we know all of these things. We have the Committee on Infractions that is going to meet and basically publicize this, and they tell Tennessee when it will happen. Mm-hmm. I don't think you need to be concerned if you're a Tennessee fan that this is happening on a Friday. I think there may be some skepticism of good news because it's on a Friday, and typically when there's a bad story, anyone dumps it on a Friday. That way it doesn't have a full week of a news cycle. I think this is more about the NCAA doing this today because Tennessee speaks to the media Thursday next week and at least gives them a runway to prepare what the message is going to be and what the response is going to be. So, as Brent mentioned with us an hour ago as well, the NCAA was not going to give Tennessee its penalties the day it speaks in Nashville.
Yeah.
And the 90-day window closes next week. So this at least gives Tennessee that chance. The NCAA at least throwing the balls a little bit of a bone as far as that goes.
That's rare for us.
I know.
That's rare for us, man. I'm with it. And I'm glad Brent Hubbs explained it the way he did too, as far as the scholarships. You see that number, it's like, oh Lord, we're not gonna be able to recruit anybody anymore. You mentioned the money thing, but that's one thing I know too is Vols have a very strong donor side of the alumni right now too. So I'd much rather lean on that and believe the fact that it won't affect current coaches, incoming players, current players, and staff members as it stands right now, because the blemish that they have, the NCAA, like, you got to do all things to get as many people on your side as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I always wondered too, like when you guys, back when you played, like when sanctions came down, I could only imagine as a player like worrying about, oh gosh, what is it going to do to the program? I don't know if that's the case anymore for these players, because in this situation, it doesn't look like it's going to be as crazy. But I always do put myself in the shoes of a player and think at this point, you're waiting for this too. You're waiting to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Even if you weren't involved in that situation or you weren't under that coach, it's always affecting something.
It is. Or if you're a player that's on a team that calls you to get those, like, you don't want to leave the university and be like, man, y'all were the squad that put us in this situation. Like, there is a lot of pride when it comes down to what your to your attachment to your university. And that's one thing that, like you said, as a player, you don't want that. You don't want to have to deal with that blowback for years to come also.
In the F&M Bank chat, you can watch the show on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And you can join in on the discussion on our YouTube channel at 1045 The Zone, where Ryan writes in asking, so if we do get scholarships taken, couldn't we just say, hey, we're going to give you more in NIL money and you're going to pay your own tuition with it? Or do you have to be scholarship to get NIL? You do not have to be on scholarship to get name, image, and likeness. Nope. And this is a topic of conversation in Knoxville in the last few weeks and even this week, because the plan for Josiah Jordan-James and Tennessee basketball was for him to be a walk-on and get NIL money to then make up that difference. I personally would be surprised if that happens much in football because the numbers are so big that if you set that precedent of 10 guys are on walk-on status and getting NIL, that becomes a much bigger expense than, hey, look, we've got one guy who was going to go to the NBA draft. Now he's not. He's going to come back. He's going to get NIL money in order to make up that difference. I think that's fine as a one-off. I'm skeptical if that becomes a best practice, if that becomes routine. But I could be wrong because I didn't think that would even be possible a year ago. So
you just have to rely on the businesses more than the university. Right. That's where it becomes iffy.
Well, this was what we'll continue to react to this morning, 615-737-1045. As the breaking news, Tennessee will learn its NCAA penalties today, and we give you the latest as it comes to us all morning right here on Ramon K. Will.
Buying a diamond, if you're not properly educated, is hard. If you're not careful, you can overpay big time. Small variations in diamonds' quality specs can make a huge difference in its value. That's why I always recommend Genesis Diamonds. Actually, go ahead there today, exactly. Get some more education, because Genesis Diamonds education is second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market. Their non-commissioned experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, this is so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind this recent trend and show you all the info on how lab-growns are being overpriced in so many places. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value for both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Whether you are buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure you don't make a mistake. Genesis Diamonds, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Don't buy a diamond until you learn the ins and outs from Genesis, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is our number. Breaking news this morning. If you missed it, Tennessee will learn its NCAA penalties today after a 30-month wait. Let me say that again, a 30-month wait.
It's crazy. It's been that long.
We were talking about this 2 SEC Media Days ago on the COVID Media Days in Hoover when Josh Heupel did his first ever interview on this station at SEC Media Days with 3HL. And I remember Brent telling him at that point, saying, man, I bet you this time next year we might still not know. And I remember being like, no way. You kidding?
Lo and behold.
Oh, of course we're going to know. And he didn't say that to Heupel, but he said after, he said, I guarantee you that by the time the 2022 Media Days roll around, we're still going to be sitting here waiting on NCAA news. And literally it's 2 Media Days later.
And we're still at it.
These are the things that make SEC Media Days relevant. The way that it used to be every year. And Brent brought up a good point that now that football is a year-round news cycle in the college world like it is in the NFL, there's less of a kickoff feel. But then if somebody's in trouble, if somebody, has issues with the law or issues with the NCAA, then this thing becomes really interesting really quickly for that school or for that coach.
I feel like we got a few storylines right now as it stands. Bama quarterback situation. Of course, Saban's going to get every question about that. You got Tennessee's NCAA situation that's going on right now, too. Georgia, whatever they have going on.
You mean the culture?
The culture that they have going on right now. I think it's a little bit more spicier SEC Media Days than we probably had in the past, though. Beamer, what are they going to do? Is Spencer Rattler coming? He's on the list of players to come? Should be.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't have a list in front of me, but what can he do again this year when it comes down to South Carolina? They have a lot of traction moving, y'all.
Yeah.
They really do.
There is, and you got the new coach at Mississippi State. I know that's not a big storyline for us, but there are some things that haven't been touched on in the offseason necessarily that I'm looking forward to just kind of hearing from some of these players and coaches, but especially just with the 2 schools that we cover, especially the Vols.
Yeah.
And this will give this a little time to die down. It is a Friday dump, but you're going to get a lot of headlines on Monday from this, even when you're at SEC Media Days. Vols talk on Thursday, like Will said. So that will give them some time just to, get it out of the way a little bit. But it's going to be a topic. It's definitely going to be a topic, especially when you're here in Nashville and you're speaking to the media.
The 2 biggest headlines now at SEC Media Days are Tennessee's NCAA penalties and Georgia's fight with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And the stories that have come out about speeding that's taken place and culture issues and things of that nature. Those are the 2 podium conversations I'm now most interested in hearing, are Josh Heupel's and Kirby Smart's.
Definitely. And also, Drinkwitz's situation. Jimbo's in there for me, too. Those 2 are very interesting. Jimbo and Drinkwitz both very interesting for me this year. I don't know how they're going to turn out on either side, good or bad right now, and that's exciting for us.
Yeah.
And I'd also say this, too. With those 2 situations, between Tennessee and with Georgia, too, what is there actually to gain? Because I feel like the last time we had something against Alabama, the Alabama-Tennessee feud, we had of players getting money, former being involved in it, you can at least poke and say, you guys over there are telling on everybody when you're doing the same thing. This Tennessee situation, I feel like it's going to be quick, fast, and out the way. Kirby can get it together, but I don't know if he can put the toothpaste back into the tube again. With those kids still have those cars.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of discipline, when it comes to Kirby, in kind of the things that are coming out with that. But he'll be at the podium. He'll get those questions. He's going to have to answer it. I hope we can talk with Greg Sankey. I don't know if I think he'll come by.
He will.
A lot of them.
Yeah, we will have Greg Sankey on the show next week.
I'm really, really excited to talk to Greg. I've talked to him in a group setting, but he has, been so great for the SEC. He just got an extension as well. So interested to just have a few kind of dialogues with him in terms of the future of the conference once they get Texas and Oklahoma. just because it's ever changing, and expansion. Is that something he'd even mention at this point?
Wow.
Even more. So
Still no rumors or anything out there about what the penalties will be for Tennessee today. The time this is going to come out, the NCAA Committee on Infractions is holding a Zoom at noon. That is the latest on that. VolQuest.com and Brent Hubbs telling us, of course, an hour ago that he expected this might happen today. This is 85 days after the hearing in Cincinnati that Tennessee had with the NCAA and the Committee on Infractions. So writes on that, and Brent Hubbs on VolQuest.com writes this morning as well that just more clarity on what the Committee on Infractions is. So there are attorneys, athletic department officials from all levels of colleges, former coaches, like Texas women's basketball coach Jody Conrad, former head coach, is on the Committee of Infractions. Former conference commissioners and a former attorney general of the United States. I feel like we forget sometimes, guys, that the NCAA is member schools and their peers. Like, we think of the big bad NCAA of just these executives. Like, these are member schools. Like, the NCAA is all of the colleges made up together governing themselves.
Yeah.
Like, really, the NCAA's employee has been Mark Emmert, the executive director. And now Charlie Baker.
He's done in July,
Yeah, he's
right?
done.
yeah,
Yeah, he's out.
he's done. He gone.
He gone.
So it is easy to forget. Like, these are people who have represented schools and people who have represented athletic departments.
Yeah.
Which I feel have had no communication with each other, or
None,
bad communication, if any.
Well, the representation needs to figure out what they're going to be moving forward, though. I'll tell you that much. I actually am more optimistic about what's coming down to Tennessee. Hopefully they get this right, considering where they stand as a group, a unit, a clique, whatever you want to call it, NCAA right now. Fascinating. Brent said he tried to let us know a little bit on there, but he couldn't fully divulge
No,
everything.
he did. I thought he did a good
No,
job.
he walked the line, and Brent Hubbs essentially told us in our conversation, he said, I wouldn't be surprised. Today made the most sense. Friday news dump is, I mean, what was this, 3 Fridays ago or 4 Fridays ago when the LSU news came out about Will Wade?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was really minuscule. Like, I heard about it, but then it was just like, on to the next one.
On to the next one. Yeah.
In July 4th weekend, we got the NPF news. Like, it feels like we've had a
That's
couple
right.
Friday dumps in a row.
The Friday before July 4th is like the Friday news dump of all Friday news dumps. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
That's when you get stuff all the time. I feel like there's been a lot of Friday Deshaun Watson news dumps also through all of that.
It's been a lot of those.
Is that it also with the gambling?
No.
Okay.
The gambling dump has not dropped yet.
I think, they're still investigating certain cases. So I think when they're going to announce it, they'll probably also announce suspensions. So they're having to investigate each of these cases individually to make a large announcement.
I guarantee you, I guarantee that the Friday before training camp, what is that? That's July 28th. July 28th is when this gambling stuff will come out.
2
Guarantee
weeks
it.
from now.
I would be surprised if it's not. I obviously have no inside info of that. But the NFL wants to bury some of the gambling stuff within the excitement of training camps opening. And teams need to know based on who they can or can't practice with the ones when training camp opens. Because NPF will not be practicing as the starting right tackle at Tennessee Titans training camp.
He'll be
with
there,
the twos.
but yeah.
That's such a weird place to be in, too, fellas.
We watched it with
Ladies.
Lawan.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's so weird, man.
Well, you got to cross your fingers that nobody else is on that list on this team.
I know, because it's so simple, so easy.
Really?
Like, it really was. Like, not even to be gambling on friggin' NFL, but like just being at the building in your car, clearly. On the team bus. Like, there's so many different things that could go wrong around this that it really does set you back to be like, how big of a pool of players is this? And meanwhile, the NFL will announce that they've just struck like 2 new partnerships with like 2 other gambling houses.
Yeah.
Like, the what is it, Will? The enemy of my enemy is my friend?
And they'll keep having Pro Bowls in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, they will.
Keep having Pro Bowls and Super Bowls in Vegas.
Yeah.
Hey, don't gamble.
That sucks for NPF though. It really does.
Like hanging the carrot.
This really like stymies his like second year growth too.
Yeah.
More reaction to Tennessee's NCAA penalties coming today. Pete Thamel has laid out exactly what Tennessee has already self-imposed. Let's go through that coming up next on exactly what Tennessee has already done in hopes of avoiding a postseason ban and avoiding a hammer. That will officially drop today. Just depends on how hard that hammer does hit Tennessee. We get the latest on that. Coming up here as Hour 4 begins, it's the fourth quarter of the show already. Look, we've got a lot of football news today. We should go ahead and drop that fours should be up.
Force. It's been fast today, too.
Been really quick. 4 quarters and the fourth hour of the show coming up on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. They understand choosing a hearing care provider is a big decision. And Brentwood Hearing Center's number one priority is delivering exceptional patient care. Their staff combines many years of expertise in hearing healthcare and is well trained on a variety of services ranging from evaluations to treatment. Brentwood Hearing Center believes great care includes establishing great relationships with their patients. Treating hearing loss is an ongoing process that requires regular follow-ups, maintenance, and cleanings to keep you hearing your best. That's what sets Brentwood Hearing Center apart. They believe there's no cookie-cutter approach to hearing health. And their phone number, remember this one, 615-377-0420. Maybe it's for you. Maybe it's for the family member who is making you always, repeat yourself, right? We've all been at those crowded dinner tables, families over, you're grilling outside. You get tired of saying, hey, can you say that again? Well, Brentwood Hearing Center, they can take care of you. They're going to take care of your loved ones as well. BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. That's where you can go. Their website is great. Schedule an appointment there. They've got all the latest technology. Over 30 years, one home. Proudly serving Brentwood from the same location for more than 30 years. 615-377-0420. That's where you need to go. BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life.
What's going on? 902 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. The NCAA Committee on Infractions ruling down today on Tennessee. The NCAA will hold a Zoom meeting at noon to discuss the Vols' infractions. Tennessee has disputed a level 1 infraction of failure to monitor. Specifically, Tennessee is fighting any possibility of a bowl ban. All told, the investigation has yielded 18 level 1 violations during the Jeremy Pruitt era. Tennessee received its letter of allegations in July of 22. In the notice of allegations, those infractions included that almost $60,000 of cash or gifts were provided to players and their families by Pruitt, his wife, numerous coaches, recruiting staff, and at least one booster. And yesterday, the Jets and defensive tackle Quinnen Williams have agreed to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, locking him up through 2027. The deal makes Williams the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL, right behind Aaron Donald. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth quarter of the show, on the show that gets better when the ball matters the most. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh keeping us between the navigational beacons behind the glass. I'm Will Bowling. In 15 minutes, we hit the AFC South headlines with our good friend Ben Arthur of Fox Sports. But today, now about Tennessee and the NCAA, as the news comes about an hour ago that Tennessee will officially today hear what its penalties are from the NCAA. So it is Friday, and you could say the NCAA is acting like it.
Sir Charles Jones. Workers, they work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That is right, a 9 to 5 that just started.
Party.
Welcome to your Friday.
Let's get to it, baby.
It's Friday.
Let's party tonight.
I feel like we need to quickly fade this down and just go to Jaws music, because that's how Tennessee fans feel this week.
Yeah.
I just always think of the Florida fight song now. Goodness. So Pete Thamel writes this, ESPN.com college football writer says, important to remember where the Tennessee NCAA penalties get announced today. Tennessee has already self-imposed 18 scholarships over the last 3 years. They've self-imposed 7 official visits, 2 home games without official visitors, and 12 total weeks with no unofficial visitors and 34 evaluation days. So those are the things that Tennessee have self-imposed. They did not self-impose a bowl ban in 2021 when Tennessee played in its second asterisk-ended Music City Bowl over the last 10 years.
I mean, those are easy things I hope that the NCAA accepts. Do you think they actually look at all that stuff and it's like, hey, that was awesome of you guys? They do?
I think they do, because in this case, guys, if Tennessee gets a postseason ban, there is zero incentive for any team to ever cooperate with NCAA investigations ever again.
Truth.
Wow.
Yep.
Tennessee cooperated as well as one can. They fired their athletic director and their head coach immediately. They self-reported everything that happened. This was not something that you felt like happened because someone in the NCAA looked in Tennessee's house and realized Jeremy Pruitt was breaking the rules. Tennessee self-imposed a lot. Now, where you could play devil's advocate to that is if Jeremy Pruitt in 2020 goes 7-3 instead of 3-7, is Tennessee really blowing the whistle on itself? Probably not.
Right.
But the fact that Tennessee wasn't good in 2020 and said, let's look around a little bit and see if we could maybe save a little bit of money to hit the reset button. That's what they did.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. But hey, we don't have to pay Pruitt, as far as I know right now. It sucks for us to even have this black cloud over, considering the year you just had. And hey, business as usual. We'll bounce back. Heck, we bounced back years before when this type of stuff happens. I just hate that there's so much behind it. As far as the momentum we've had.
Yeah, it feels like things have certainly moved forward to a different phase of Tennessee athletics, and now we kind of go back to the old days again.
Yeah.
When your head was always on a swivel of, well, you could always get penalties any day. I remember where I was when I found out the Bruce Pearl penalties were when they were dropped down.
Were those some
I was
of
on
the,
Wilson Pike and Bro.
the weakest penalties you could have had?
What do you mean?
With Bruce Pearl, like his infractions.
Well, those were some of the strongest.
Were they?
Tennessee had to fire him.
I mean, in the sense of like it was a cookout, right?
Oh, you mean the smallest,
action.
the smallest thing that you could possibly get
The action.
penalties for?
Yeah.
Well, the action wasn't the cookout. The action was lying about the cookout.
I'm sorry, but this kind of stuff sounds so ridiculous now
It does.
compared to like what we're in terms of athletics.
Yeah, that's where they got Tennessee. It was not Bruce Pearl having Aaron Kraft and who was it? I think it was Jordan McRae, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
At least you got one of them.
Can't stand Aaron Kraft.
Because even I actually really like him. I covered him up there.
There you go. Can't stand him.
He's it's when you look up at Ohio State too and look at some of the tattoo gates and all that, like that also makes you kind of be like, really?
Tattoo.
Because they exchanged like tattoos for signed gear, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, which is like nowadays it's like, oh, whatever. I know it was the rules back then, but it just kind of makes you like be like, really?
So small of an item,
Yeah.
right? For you to be suspended or have that many sanctions like put against you. So that's why I was saying with Bruce Pearls, I really didn't think his firing was justified. Again, rules are rules into a whole lot more serious back then than it is now. But I didn't think his was justified at all. Sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, what does the alternate history of Tennessee athletics look like if Bruce Pearl stays the basketball coach?
Or still won't be a basketball school. I think you look at more consistency. Truthfully, him being able to have all the resources that he want, learn from recruiting, and also him with NIL and that university. Golly, I love Rick too. Rick Barnes is awesome. But can you imagine the personalities of Rick, Tony V, Heupel?
Oh.
Golly.
Look, what you just said, it'd still be a football school. Look, anywhere in the South is still going to be,
So
unless
true.
you're Kentucky. And that's just, it is what it is. I mean, even if Alabama continues to have success with their basketball program, like football is still going to be dominant.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the SEC for sure.
Maybe, no, I was going to say maybe LSU, but no.
No,
LSU.
I don't think so.
That is a football
Yeah.
team.
The only other school that would maybe have a case would be Vanderbilt and the Memorial Magic
Yeah.
era and Shane Foster and all those guys that they had come through and under Kevin Stallings. And obviously before that, too. I can just only speak for the era I grew up in this city. But they're the only school that could make that claim. But even at Kentucky, football is making a lot more zeros than basketball. So
They are.
that's what you run into.
And you can kind of see that ripple among other athletic conferences where the Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, said we are a basketball school. We are a basketball conference, and which ticked a lot of people in the ACC off. Like, no, we play football too.
Not smart.
Yeah.
But he kind of put his foot in his mouth because when you look at who the football conference is, it's very obvious it's the SEC. So he was trying to hedge his bets, but it didn't really work out on Jim's favor.
Yeah, and you can't be a basketball conference when football makes exponentially more zeros than basketball.
Yep.
Football pays for you to have basketball.
And essentially, like one
A
state
lot of
contains
places.
all of your basketball schools.
Yeah.
Like Sands, Florida State, and Syracuse. Like,
That's so true.
True.
That's so true. Speaking of basketball, too, I think it was announced yesterday on 3HL that the Big 12 is doing basketball games on the CW.
Yep. No, ACC.
ACC. It's
Yeah.
on the CW.
C-Dub.
C-Dub.
Coming up after Live Golf,
Crazy.
it's the ACC. Stay tuned for Pittsburgh and Florida State after the Tulsa Live Golf Tournament.
Yeah.
This is
And
like,
then Smallville at 9 o'clock tonight.
For real.
that's the thing. They went down the lineup
Terrible.
of what was like, on the C-Dub.
And what's so fascinating about it, like I can say I'm brand, like I'm tied to brands. Like it's hard for me, honestly, to watch the NCAA tournament when it's on True TV.
I know. It is weird.
It just seems different.
You got to get over that.
I know it's outside of the realm. Like if there's a game that's on like another network that I'm used to watching sports on, and a network like True, and respectfully True, I'm not saying this. It's new to me with y'all. I'm probably gonna watch it on the other network.
So here's what the example is. There's 4 games going on, or 3 at the same time during the tournament. Are you more likely to switch to CBS and watch the game that's on CBS than you are?
True. Yes, I am, Kayla.
To give some context to the CW announcement, so it's a deal through Raycom, but not all games will be exclusively on the CW, and it's only for the 26-27 season. So 50 games between football and basketball will be on the CW.
Okay.
This is just a rights acclamation.
It's instead of probably Bally Sports, honestly, because a lot of those
that's
games have been
right.
on Bally Sports South and Fox Sports South for a while before that.
Right, and we don't know what's happening there.
So just 50 games spread between 2 sports, so not a terribly large number.
It's
Yeah.
still so funny.
26?
26, 27.
26, 27.
27,
Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine football on the CW as it stands right now.
Clemson, please stay. You can lead into the Flash reruns.
Or All-American.
Clemson, please stay. The Arrow's coming on after you.
Please, Notre
Gilmore
Dame, don't you
Girls.
want to watch Smallville?
Like
Vampire Diaries.
this ain't even like WGN level. Like I knew WGN for like Chicago sports
Back in
rules.
the
You know,
day.
back in the day,
TBS
like,
for the Braves.
I was and TBS for the Braves. Like CW getting into sports is new. Good for them is what I say, honestly.
Not good for the viewer. Well, they won't have Live Golf much longer now that that's not probably going to exist next year.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound weird, but is CW cable television or is it regular like antenna TV? If I have an antenna in my house,
That's a.
I actually think you can get it with an
think
antenna.
so.
he can get it with an antenna.
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, so I'm saying like that's a real question because for people that streaming and you don't, want to download the
Who
CW
still has
app.
an antenna? Tweet us.
You're a
I
big
had one in 19. We got rid of cable in my townhome in Pittsburgh, and we were streaming because we were only watching local news, or either the games would come on local, regardless.
Big
So
news guy.
we got rid of cable and just got internet, and we had an antenna if we wanted to watch regular TV.
Look at that.
or
So
watch catch the games.
if you're a big Four Aces fan and Live,
Yeah.
that's your diehard team since they started 2 years ago. Just get an antenna, watch the Four Aces, and then ACC basketball in 2026.
Go
See what I'm
back in
saying?
time.
Can't even say that with a straight face. So that's the story we're monitoring. Tennessee will not know what the penalties are until, I believe, 11 a.m. Central. So stay tuned to the Buck Rising Show, hosted by Lucas Panzica today. He will have all the latest on that as he fills in for Buck, who has taken the day off. It is fantastic, Buck. Coming up next, though, Ben Arthur will be fantastic going through the AFC South storylines. He had a great piece on Anthony Richardson, the new Indianapolis Colts quarterback, that he will detail with us. What surprised him in his process of learning about the newest quarterback starting against the Titans in Indy. Ben Arthur joins us coming up next on our own Kayla and Will.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson and Ramon Foster with Window Nation, and we talked about it today.
we did.
We walked outside at probably 5:30, and it was steaming.
Hot.
It was like a bread box, and so that means you already know, folks, the heat, the humidity, it is here in July, and it's probably only going to ramp up here in August. So that means your AC is going to go into overdrive, and that means your energy bills are going to go up. So we have a solution for you. Ramon Foster and I, we speak highly of our friends at Window Nation. And right now, you can actually save thousands with no money down, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. Plus, they're going to throw in this for you. Window Nation going to give you 2 free windows with every two you buy. So if you have a new home, if you're looking to buy a home and want to put in windows, or just, redoing your home, go ahead and do that today with new windows. You can check them out at windownation.com.
As Kayla just told you, hot days, cold nights. We don't really got cold nights. We got sweaty nights is what we have. But it can cause a caulk to crack, seal failures, condensation. Window Nation only uses top-of-the-line materials, including mold spray and quad max sealant, toughest against all weather conditions. And the best thing about Window Nation, that's all they do. They are experts. Installed over 200,000 windows last year. That's 40 times more than the average window company, with 96% of them requiring no follow-up service. As Kayla just told you, 0 for 2 full years. There's no money, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. Plus, buy 2 windows and get 2 windows free on any style from Window Nation Windows. There's no limit to it. Simply call them at 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com.
Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. As we wrap up the week, get you towards your Friday commute. Glad you're with us. With Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Robert Walsh making the show happen. I'm Will Bowling, and on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, our very good friend Ben Arthur, covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. What's up, Ben? 2 weeks to training camp. How we feeling?
Feeling good. How are you guys doing? It's crazy. Football is right around the corner. The off season has kind of flown by, so excited to kind of get going.
Definitely has, and it felt good just arguing about how interesting Hard Knocks is going to be. Like, it feels like that is always the official kickoff, is like everyone's interest in Hard Knocks and random practice squad guys that we'll never hear about in the season. We obsess over these things to just convince ourselves that football is back.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right, Ben. Well, let's start here in Tennessee, of course, with DeAndre Hopkins and the Titans. And it feels like we begin with this anytime we talk NFL. But the Vegas odds shifting this week for DeAndre Hopkins and the Titans now becoming the betting favorite among some sports books. Does that move the needle for you at all?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, there hasn't really been any new information with DeAndre Hopkins, and I guess we know that the only two teams, at least publicly, that he's visited are the Titans and the Patriots. So at least from the outside looking in, it looks like kind of one or the other. And I know there was that report, I think maybe last week, that the Titans have been, quote, more aggressive or more involved, so to speak. So, I mean, that's probably what the betting odds are kind of responding to. But yeah, I personally haven't seen or heard anything to kind of suggest anything changing on the Titans front. Of course, they would love to have him. We've talked ad nauseum about, the concerns about this wide receiver room and what he could potentially mean for this offense. But yeah, I mean, there hasn't really been any new information to kind of move me in one direction or the other with Hopkins.
So, Ben, really our topic all week has been, if DeAndre Hopkins does become a Titan, what would be a successful season for him? Is there a number of catches, of yards, of touchdowns, or just even staying healthy that you would consider a successful season if D-Hop ends up coming to Tennessee?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I think number one, like just being a quality like number two to Treylon Burks, whether that's 700 yards, 800 yards, I don't know. But as long as he's productive, because we've seen the Titans kind of get burned with these older veteran receivers. We saw it with Robert Woods, not really – I mean, he was their leading receiver last season, but not really having the kind of production that was expected. The Julio Jones experiment, kind of blew up in their face. And so as long as he's a productive receiver, can be a number two at the least, I think that would be a start. I think number two, being that mentor to Treylon Burks, having someone that Treylon can lean on to learn from, to pick his brain. With the state of this receiver room, I mean, we all know that Treylon Burks is kind of the guy right now, but there isn't really anyone who's accomplished a lot in this league, and having a sounding board, someone who's been as good as Hopkins in this league, a multi-time All-Pro and Pro Bowl receiver, I think that wisdom could be really beneficial to Treylon, and so that would be number two. And then number three, which is kind of tied to number one in terms of production, but it would just be being healthy. And again, that kind of goes to the issues the Titans have had kind of with these veteran receivers in the past, most notably Julio Jones, who I think only played 10 or 11 games. I mean, you bring in a guy like Hopkins, a guy who's probably going to command a decent amount of money. You need him to be on the field and to produce and all those things. And so I think if you look at the production aspect, the mentorship aspect, and then the availability aspect, I think those three things would be kind of a success if Hopkins were to sign with the Titans.
Man, when you look at this signing, potential signing, it's two facets of the fan base. One wants D-Hop because he's him, and the other's like just exactly as you just said. We don't want to get Julio'd again or anybody else. Without him, let's say if you don't get him, what is this wide receiver group, and how optimistic are you about these guys?
You talking the group as a whole?
Yeah, without D-Hop.
Oh, without D-Hop. I mean, that's kind of why we've been talking about this so much, about the portion of the fan base that would be excited about getting a guy who's accomplished as much as he has, just because there is so much unproven. Many people would perceive a kind of a lack of talent in this room. Nick Westbrook-Akina has been available, but he maybe doesn't necessarily have the upside that you would want. Same thing with Chris Moore, who they signed in free agency. Kyle Phillips, I think, is somewhat of an X factor. Like if he can kind of translate what he looked like in training camp in the preseason last year and can be available for the regular season and kind of build on kind of those positives he showed us early, he could be something. But apart from that, there just isn't a whole lot to work with. It really looks like a big gamble on the Titans' part with this wide receiver room. And so I think with D-Hop, you kind of get that sense of, you know what he's going to give you. He's productive, and even like you could look at his age and whatnot and kind of those concerns. But in the games he played last season, I know he missed a significant portion of last season with the Cardinals, but when he played, he was very productive. Like he only played 9 or 10 games and would have led the Titans in the Titans receiving room, like by far. Like I think it was over 700 receiving yards. Robert Woods had just over 500, and that was in like 9 or 10 games. And so even if DeAndre Hopkins isn't what he's been in the past, he's still a much better option, or something that the Titans could really use to support Treylon Burks and bring along some of these guys that you think could potentially be something like a Kyle Phillips or Colton Dowell or guys like that. And so I think it's just the fact that he's proven, and even at his age, he's still been productive, is kind of what I think this Titans receiver room needs.
And we can talk till we're blue in the face all day long about the wide receivers and how that's going to help the offense. But look, when it comes down to it, if the offensive line does not find some mojo or consistency, whatever you want to call it, like that offense isn't going to happen. Like it's not going to run properly.
Exactly.
And now with MPF out for 6 games, he'll be at training camp, but he's not going to be preparing to start on that right side. So my question to you, Ben, is like, really, what is the next best option? And do you see this offensive line coming together? It might not happen the first few games, but at all this season?
Yeah, that's a really that's a really good question, Kayla. And I do think in time that this O-line can be, respectable, at least better than what it was last season. I mean, in a lot of ways, you can't get much worse than what it was last year, at least in terms of the pass protection. But it's going to take some time, like with MPS suspension, as you said. I think with the situation as is, Daniel Brunskill is probably their best option at right tackle because he's, a veteran. He's been in the league a minute. He has right tackle experience from his time with the 49ers. You move him from he was expected to be the right guard, so you move him to right tackle. And then maybe you put in a Jamarco Jones or a Corey Levin, Jordan Roos, one of those guys. I think that would probably be the best case scenario, because if you kind of leave the first 4 as is, and when I say that, I mean like Dillard, Skoronski, Brewer, Brunskill from left to right, then with right tackle, you're really going to have like an unproven guy at right tackle, like whether it's Jamarco Jones or maybe just someone who hasn't really played that position. And so I think with what they're facing right now, Brunskill is probably your best option at right tackle. And I do think they have some versatile interior O-line options that they could kind of mix and match and see what works. But yeah, I mean, the O-line is going to be kind of the crux for everything because, I mean, it doesn't matter if you do add D-Hop and you can't get the ball to him because the Titans last season, that they allowed the highest pressure rate in the NFL last season. And you kind of enter a year where you have 3 new starters, and then of the 2 guys returning, one is playing a new position, right, in Aaron Brewer moving from left guard to center, and then your right tackle being out for the first 6 weeks of the season. There's kind of a lot of question marks up front. So yeah, it's really, I don't really have a good answer for that, Caleb, but yeah, I think kind of the best option to stop the bleeding to start, I think, would be to put Daniel Brunskill at right tackle.
The guy that had a whole lot of off-season coverage, Kevin Byard. Do we get anything out of this going into camp, an extension, or just are they at a point we just going to play this thing out, you think?
That's a good question. Kevin Byard is the ultimate professional, right? And right. I think he's going to continue to handle kind of the situation with class. And I strongly believe the Titans and Byard will kind of figure out whatever issues or whatever tension is still there. I think they'll kind of work it out. And, you know, just kind of knowing where the Titans are at right now, I mean, as much as we've talked about the Titans kind of going younger and retooling and whatnot, it's still clear to me that they're still trying to be competitive, right? Like, I feel like we talked about kind of all the guys they cut and you know, talking about Ryan Tannehill's future being uncertain and Derrick Henry's future being uncertain, but Ryan Tannehill is still here. He's still their quarterback. Derrick Henry is still here. Byard is still here. They still clearly want to win. That starting defense is still very good. And I think if the Titans and Byard, I strongly believe that they'll kind of come together and work out any tension that still might be there if they haven't done that already, kind of for the greater good of this team, and kind of go from there. So I don't personally anticipate this being an issue as we kind of head into training camp.
Are you confident with whoever wins the backup position, whether it be Will Levis or Malik?
Hello?
Ben,
did you get us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You kind of cut out there, Kayla.
Yeah. Do you feel, we were just thinking maybe you were taking a minute to think about the question.
Oh, no.
Just saying, I mean, really, if it's Will Levis or Malik that wins the backup quarterback spot, do you feel confident in them this year if they have to come in at any moment and take over?
At this time, I don't know. It still kind of remains to be seen. Because like all we have to kind of work on is Malik's tape from last season, which, as we know, was very inconsistent. And Will Levis had his very notable kind of ups and downs at Kentucky. And I think Malik has really shown a lot of strides, at least in terms of the offseason program. And I think it's been clear that at least through that portion, like Malik was ahead of Will. But until we actually see games, until we see joint practices, until we see preseason games, it's going to be really hard to kind of gauge the comfort level, with the Titans at quarterback if Tannehill were to go down. I think with a rookie with Levis, I think that the more time he's had to acclimate in the NFL culture, I think maybe we could see him start to play better in training camp. And Malik, I think seeing the game stuff is so important because we've seen him, like I said, take those strides in practices and whatnot. And so until we really see preseason games and joint practices, I'm really not the most confident about kind of that situation right now. But again, we're still kind of mid-July and we haven't seen much besides practices and helmets and T-shirts. So yeah, it's kind of a to be determined for me. But I do think heading into training camp, Malik is ahead of Will. Okay. I would say that.
Ben Arthur, Fox Sports, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kalen, Will. And Ben, on the way out, I loved your piece on Anthony Richardson at foxsports.com and just getting to know him a little bit. The athletic freak who has always had a rocket launcher for an arm. Was there anything that surprised you in talking to people about him and learning more about the Colts' new quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of that, just learning that mental makeup as I kind of tried to detail in that story, just like how I think I got this across in the story, but how kind of detailed he is with everything, how he'll ask questions, how inquisitive he is, how he's. I didn't really dive into this as much, but he is kind of he is very introverted, and it takes a while for him to kind of warm up to you or to get comfortable in a situation. And even with coaches and teammates, it may take a minute for him to get comfortable, and you may even not think that he's really absorbing what you're saying because he may be kind of quiet in how he's taking in the information. But from talking to people around him, like, he's always aware, he's always alert, even if he's not articulating it in terms of questions. Like, that can't come later on in terms of stuff he's confused about. But I really think it's that inquisitive nature that stood out to me in reporting that story, how much he cares. I kind of gave those instances of him punishing himself or kind of crying or getting mad at himself for making mistakes. I think it's very clear that he cares a lot, and for the Colts, of course, that is so important, right? They need a guy who's going to be willing to want to put in the work to be great, and is not going to be satisfied, and is going to be curious about what he's being taught and why it's important and why it's going to help him. And I think from talking to people around him, like, I got a sense that he fits that mold. And he's so much more than the athletic freak that he's been portrayed as. And he is that guy, right? He's a generational athlete for the quarterback position, maybe the most athletic quarterback entering the NFL ever. But I think all those other things, the mental stuff, is going to what makes him the franchise quarterback the Colts need. And I think he has some of those traits. So I know the Colts are excited. I know for the Titans fan base, they would hope that he doesn't pan out. But from the Colts side, even as raw as he is in terms of his reps, his lack of reps, I do think there's a lot of promise with him.
He has Ben Arthur, Fox Sports, covering the AFC South, foxsports.com, where you can check out that article. It is a good one, absolutely, as Titans fans learn about a quarterback that is not over the hill and in his mid-30s and doesn't have 10 kids playing for the Indianapolis Colts. Ben, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There's Ben Arthur with us on Ramon, Kalen, Will. We wrap up the show with some more NFL news coming up. And an interesting quirk to Saquon Barkley's contract negotiations in New York. We'll get to those details on the other side of Ramon, Kalen, Will. Wrapping up your Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Special thanks to Ben Arthur and Brent Hubbs for stopping by this morning. There is an odd quirk to Saquon Barkley's contract negotiation with New York. And guys, I've never heard of this before. Being represented by two different agencies at once.
Oh,
I think this is interesting. 5 years ago, running back Saquon Barkley shifted his representation from Rock Nation to CAA.
Yep.
Now CAA and Rock Nation are each currently representing him. So per NFLPA records, Saquon is currently represented by Kim Miali.
Okay.
Apologies on the last name pronunciation of Rock Nation, and Ed Perry of CAA. And according to a report from Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk yesterday, according to a source, Perry was added to the negotiating team in the middle of June, the CAA representative. So he's with Rock Nation now, was with CAA. Now he is both. Ramon, have you ever heard of this?
No, not really. It sounds like he has an entertainment part, and he also has a business part of it.
That there's so many now that are both.
Yeah.
CAA is also entertainment now.
Yes, well, yes, they
You
are.
know?
You're 100% correct. Maybe it's just the dealings that he trusts one more than the other, and the fact that they're probably so deep in with his entertainment side of Saquon's merchandising and everything that he does that he didn't want to fire him. That's one heck of a split, though.
Yeah. What's surprising about that is just with working, with agents like you have. I've worked with agents. I know other people in the studio have. It's weird because you do pay a percentage to your agent, right? And so if you're already signed to a contract and you're paying a percentage to one agent, it is interesting to see how he negotiated that coming in, because you're not going to want to pay even more.
Right.
Right?
No,
You're
exactly.
like, can we split it? Like whatever deal comes about. That's interesting. I've not heard much about that.
That would be my first question as his agent. Why are you cutting my split down? Unless somebody's just been super incompetent.
Is this like having divorced parents where you would get two Christmases? Like, do you get a
The agents, you mean?
Do you get two? Do you get two contracts? Like, do you just have to spend one weekend with your mom agent and then one weekend with your dad agent? Like, how does it work?
It seems that way. Again, at the end of the day, it's money when it breaks down.
One paycheck
man.
to your mom, one paycheck to your
and
dad.
then, of course, crossing over CAA with Rock Nation.
Yeah.
Those are two very strong agencies right now. Goodness,
That's
them
bizarre.
athletes first. That's very bizarre right there. Unless the new guy that he just hired has a better relationship in negotiating.
Yep.
More breaking news on
Oh, boy.
Tennessee. Should we hit the sounder again? Let's hit the sounder again.
Ooh.
Tennessee's penalties today from the NCAA will not include a bowl ban.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
Chris Lowe of ESPN.com says, sources tell me and Pete Thamel, Tennessee will avoid a bowl ban among the punishment it will receive today from the NCAA Committee on Infractions Punishment. The Vols are expected to pay a steep fine for violations that occurred under former coach Jeremy Pruitt. So that is as official as it gets until it will become official at 11 o'clock when the NCAA Committee on Infractions meets and holds a press conference. There you go. Tennessee fans, after 30 months, you can breathe a sigh of relief. The Vols will not have a bowl ban because of Jeremy Pruitt's 18 level 1 violations.
That's fantastic.
That is
It
fantastic,
is.
Buck Rising.
And Brent Hubbs just giving us the good stuff this morning.
Yeah, that's awesome right there. Sounds like we're going to get a steep fine for being stupid in a lot of different ways. Hiring a guy that was incompetent to do the job after the fact, I guess, and just not really overseeing everything. I think they thought because it was a pandemic that nobody was watching. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody's watching.
We got fined for being silly. Exactly what that is.
More reporters now confirming this. Ross Dellinger adding Tennessee's infraction ruling expected today will not include a postseason ban. Adding the university took swift action and conducted its own investigation when allegations surfaced 2 years ago. Tennessee's self-imposed scholarship reductions and recruiting sanctions. So now the question becomes, with the bowl ban off the table for Tennessee, how steep is the fine? A, Vols will be fine with that. B, how many more scholarship reductions will take place, if any? I would expect there to be some based on what we've heard, but I wouldn't expect much, much more. I think the hammer has already been dropped on Tennessee at this point. So, guys, the battered Vol syndrome of, the NCAA has got it out for us, I think we can put that behind us
We
now.
leave it behind.
At last.
No bowl ban, baby.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Phew. Good news for y'all.
We figured this would be the case.
Yeah.
But it is nice to get the official confirmation because, again, you never know with the NCAA.
Ain't got a clue, do you, Will?
They're weak.
Right now, the way it stands, Kayla, not as strong as they used to be. Couldn't be my squad.
Right? Could be my committee.
Could you imagine having a team being currently investigated by the NCAA, Ramon? What's that like?
It's laughable right
Could you
now.
imagine?
It has to be laughable. It just does. Like, couldn't be my team being investigated, which we are. We are being investigated. But I think when their CEO, whatever you want to call him, Emirates, what's his name?
Was Mark Emirates.
Mark Emirates, like,
Charlie
stepped
Baker.
down. I think that probably was the sign of, like, all things to move. All things moving forward is probably going to be low. I don't know how they gain back their respect.
And according to a lot of people in this business that work in athletics, he was not very well respected.
That's tough.
Yeah, as well respected as Greg Sankey is for the good he's done, Mark Emmert is basically like the opposite. He's the other side of the coin.
Exactly.
So there you go. No bowl ban for Tennessee. Those penalties will become official within the hour. Stick around for the Buck Rising Show, hosted today by special guest